Good morning, Predecessor fans. I may not be R-Dog with the triple G's. I am Lance Cecil with the triple C's here for the main event, semifinals and finals of PCC 8, and I am never alone. I've got Mr. Meds. I've got Mugiwawa with me. How are you boys doing today?
Well, I'm doing fantastic as usual. What I prefer is the final phase of PCC, and here we have like semifinals. We're gonna have the finals. It's gonna be a great day and some great games to watch.
Yeah, this is going to be an absolute banger of a day. We got some really good matchups. I'm really excited to see a lot of, what the teams have been cooking up for this final phase. We did see a lot of cooking yesterday with some weird picks, specifically coming out of some of the teams. I think we're going to get back to more standard today, but I'm still excited to see a lot of really good predecessor.
So am I, and we have to talk about what we saw yesterday. All 2-0s, all of the way through it. All of these teams kind of smushed their way here. This first setup that we have is going to be Dirty Lake and the boys taking on Rogue. You can see here, Dirty Lake and the boys beat Bad Timing 2-0 yesterday. Rogue also took care of Flow State 2-0 yesterday. Mugi, what did D-Lab do to be successful in their first quarterfinal matchup against Bad Timing?
Well, Bad Timing is a team notorious to try to go for like some spicy strategy, especially with Blob on the offlane playing carry picks. But Dirty Lake and the boys is a team that is very kind of well formed when it comes to devising strategy, and they know how to play against that. And they, in the sense that just drafted better, had the better team comp, didn't let any openings, and then they just get their game plan, and they definitely can crush Bad Timing during those two games.
And the same to you, Mr. Mez. What did we see out of Rogue that looked so good to help them get over Flow State yesterday?
So I think that Rogue just played a very standard game that, they had a strategy, they executed the strategy, and they really didn't let F8 kind of play themselves, they didn't really let them play their strategy, right? Flow State really likes to control the map a lot, but I think that Rogue really just stuck to their strategy. They knew that they had the picks, they had the drafts, they had the macro, the micro, and they were just able to, get through that series, pretty handily.
I think so too. Honestly, I think you guys both make really good points. The real secret, they both have NA West mid laners, which is how they came to the spot that they were at. We do need to focus in onto this series though, because I do think this is going to be a pretty tight one. Mugi, what do you see when you look at how these two teams match up against each other?
Well, first, and I think it's also correct for the other two teams at the bottom part of the bracket, is it's gonna be pretty great when it comes to it, because all those teams are very good at drafting. And here we can see that it's interesting to see, if we look at the most banned and most picked heroes, there is no Zarus, there is no Aurora, it's the Gadget and the Decker, and then the Drongo and the Sevarog. And actually the Sevarog is on the side of Rogue, which is super interesting because we all know Lobber Sevarog, of course. But in terms of stats, Rogue, better objective, better KDA though on the side of D-Lab. And besides that, once again, I'm always impressed by D-Lab and any team's import is in, because if you look at the damage per game, well, it's super low. But if you look at the KDA, it's insane. And I feel like Dirty Lake and the boys with import running them have such a great efficiency. If they deal damage, someone is going to die. And that's really one of their strongest suit, and I feel like Rogue have a little bit of an issue when it comes to that. Maybe a little bit of ping also that stop them from finalizing those kills. But against D-Lab, they really have to step up in that department, otherwise it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at these numbers, what really catches my eye is the objective number. We've got 6 for Rogue, we've got 5 for D-Lab. It really kind of is a testament of how both these teams want to play, right? They want to play for those objectives. They want to set up on the objectives, take control of the map, and kind of force their way through the game through the objectives. So I think we're going to see kind of a slower, methodical game out of these two teams, mainly focused around that objective pits. We're going to see a lot of river skirmishes, a lot of trying to set up for these objectives in that mid to late game. And then, once that team fight is won, they're going to immediately go to the other pit, and then they're going to try to force their way and try to create advantages through the objectives to win the game.
And we've seen Rogue in the past, if you go all the way back to our Swiss, willing to sit back, give objectives up, know that they're going to scale. The brain power that is on both of these teams is next level. These guys know or have forgotten more about Predecessor than somebody like me will ever even know to begin with. I think that's probably true for all of us here that you can see on camera, except for Mr. Mugi over here, of course, with that giant brain that he's got on it. But we also need to set the stage for what's going on today. These are money matches in our first semifinals. We just did a little bit of a preview for D-Lab taking on Rogue. Our second one of the day that we will get to a little bit later will be the Doctors taking on Professors. Both of those are money matches. Loser eliminated. Winner goes on to the finals for that best of 5 series. Winner is guaranteed at least $1,000 for the team. The person who gets first in our event today will take home $2,000 for their team. $3,000 in total prizes will be given out today to these wonderful competitors for all of the hard work that they've put in. And we want to take a second to say we could not do that without the help of our wonderful Predecessor community. We thank all of you that donated, all of you that supported our fundraiser and helped us be able to put on and do this event that we do. We've got a great team here at PCC. None of it is possible without all of these people that are competing and all of you that are watching. It is 8:12 in the morning for me over here on the West Coast. We got 137 dedicated PCC fans in the Twitch right now. We would like to thank all of you so much. I believe our draft is getting close to being ready. What are we expecting to see be a priority in this draft to start the day off, Mugi?
Well, if we look a little bit about what those two teams have played yesterday, like out of the 2 matches, D-Lab played 2 times Terra, so I say that's something they kind of like, if they can get it, and they're gonna ban the gadget immediately. On the side of Rogue, there is like 2 picks they actually played both time. It was the Zarus, but also the Rictor on Penguin, and he has been amazing on that Rictor yesterday. I don't know if it's something that they're gonna pull again. I don't know if it's something that they really practice, because like D-Lab is like another beast, but it's always something that could be interesting to see, like maybe a repeat of yesterday from Penguin that was like 1v9ing the game.
Yeah, I think Penguin on that Richter is actually super interesting, right? Because Penguin is actually an EU player playing on NA, and when you're playing Richter on ping, I don't know if any of you have ever done that, but it's very, very difficult. So it really puts a testament to how much work he was putting in on that champion. But we do see the Zarus picked up from D-Lab, a very big priority pick, across the entire tournament. I think Zarus just offers a lot to teams that like to play front to back. It's a really good initiator. We talk all the time about how it's a really good ult, and that brings me over to the Rogue side. I really feel like they're going to put a lot of priority on this Aurora. Conte has been a monster on this, and having Conte be that initiator, creating space, and being that, having some agency in the game has really found Rogue success.
And they pick the Terra up as well, potentially trying to put some pressure away from Lobber to pick that Sevarog up, as Terra does play pretty well into it. I know Mugi might go into this a little more. I'm a little surprised to see the Aurora after the Zarus is picked up. Kind of hard. Oh, actually, no, I've got that backwards. Pretty hard to play Zarus into Aurora. So you like seeing this, and then the Decker's going to come through for D-Lab as well on the arms of Toasty.
Well, it seems that the Zarus is always the first pick for every single team when it's not banned. Like, overall, you have a very strong jungle. I feel like the jungle hero pool is kind of constrained in the current meta. We see that Rampage and Camera are struggling a lot. So, like, securing that very strong jungle that is strong, like, throughout the whole game is very important. And Zarus really offers you that. Of course, there is, like, some weakness for that. We see Aura and Terra being secured, and like you were mentioning, kind of denying the Sevrog. But we're gonna secure a very, very strong dual lane here for the side of Dirty Lake and the boys. Decker, also a pick that has been notoriously banned in the first phase throughout the tournament yesterday. And we also get Grim, that is like kind of considered one of the best carry, to the point that he was also making a lot of appearance in off lane during the scrims.
Yeah, we won't see I don't think any Grim offlane today. I think that's primarily a BT pick, and since they fell yesterday, I do not think we're going to be seeing Grim offlane. maybe it does, but who knows? We do see a Sev ban coming out from Rogue. That's one of the picks that Bondru from D-Lab just really loves to play. So taking that off the board is definitely a good pickup.
Very respectful to Lauber. I'm not exactly sure why they decide to go this. I don't want to question them, but with the Terra already picked up here, have that kind of natural counter. We'll see the second ban come out. It's going to be a Richter try to keep that off of Penguin.
And that ban kind of show a lot of respect for Dirty Lake and the boys. Like, they have seen Penguin pop off yesterday. Well, they feel they're confident enough with what they already pick to not let's not risk the wild card that Rogue has been going for during the other side. And with the Drongo, that would have been the double silence. And so that's something that could have been a little bit scary. Here, the gadget has been removed from the side, and we already have a pretty strong dive comp with the Terra, the Aura being able to go in. So we're gonna secure the Gideon to reinforce that possibility on the side of Rogue, leaving the last pick open on the support side, because there is no support to be taken on the side of Vertilak and the boys, and kind of waiting a little bit because they also want their mid laner. And so that's gonna be the classical Gideon into Howitzer. We know Happy Picker is super strong on the Howitzer. I would say the best Howitzer in the tournament so far. A lot of very aggressive flash with the landmines that set up super good kills, and also a very long backline damage.
Yeah, so I was saying earlier that we're going to have long schlogs games and everything like that. We're going to focus on the mid to late game. But with this Kallari pickup, I actually think D-Lab is going to be very aggressive in the early game, trying to get something happening with this Kallari. We did see that Kallari being brought out in the group stages. And, Import was that facilitator in that early game, allowing D-Lab to kind of snowball through the game that we did broadcast. Now, on the side of Rogue, I would expect that Penguin pick up a Muriel here, but it is actually going to be a steal, kind of rounding out that, dive comp that we did already talk about.
So, we see a lot of potential to blow a person up on the side of D-Lab with the Howitzer, the Kallari, and the Grim. We see a lot of crowd control on the side of Rogue. How do these comps stack up against each other, boys?
Well, it's very interesting because I feel like they have a lot of flexibility. Overall, we have the Kallari, true, but we have the Zarus to create some space so the Kallari can still be relevant while keeping the Decker in backline peel duty, while having Grim and Howitzer probably the two best damage dealer at staying into the backline. So they have a lot of tools that works, but also on the side of Rogue, actually, it's interesting because we have Terra, Aura, Steel all being able to initiate, but also you can decide to keep Aura in the backline to peel for that Kallari, or the Steel to stay in the backline to peel for that Kallari. So there is a lot of moving pieces that they can adapt throughout the match, and both of those compared to some matches we have seen yesterday are completely functional, and that should give us a good match.
Yeah, I think what this game is really going to boil down to is, can Import get onto Neft? Neft has shown, through the group stages yesterday that he will pump out the damage, right? So can Import get to Neft? Can he shut him down? And then if he does, can Wangle end up dealing that damage for Rogue to carry them through the fights? So a couple of big questions there for me going into this game.
So, with no further ado, we've been waiting a long time. The money matches, they start right now. D-Lab versus Rogue, Game 1, Day 2, main event, Prime Championship Circuit 8, semifinals kick off right now. E Squared, take it away.
Gamers, we got game 1 of the semifinals coming up. I'm so excited, and I hope you are too. You got E Squared with you today in the casting booth. That means it's me, your bro Ego, always rocking with you. But in this band, we never rock alone. I got the man, the myth, the legend, F6. Brother, are you ready for this game?
Dude, I am so ready to get started here, man. I just cannot wait to see Dirty Lake and the boys and this Rogue team. They looked impeccable yesterday when they were playing, and I mean, these two are going to go at it, and this might be one of our semifinals that might just seem like it is a grand finals.
It really does feel like it, man. These are two giants within Predecessor, within the PCC, because they stand tall and they stand on business. There are so many players within this set that can just win a game by themselves. Lobber, Appy Picker popping off, Import to say at the very least, Conte, a new up-and-comer, but Neft, a sustained and always consistent fragger within that dual lane. F6, we really got a treat for the fans.
We have a treat here, Ego. I mean, look at D-Lab, the way they've been playing this entire series. I mean, then look at Rogue, the way they showed out yesterday, showing like, hey, we've cleaned up a lot of things and we are ready for Dirty Lake and the boys. But like it was already said on the desk, it's going to be up to Import to really shut down Neft and Penguin, because yesterday they had a great day. We saw that Richter ban because they definitely respected, but still Penguin is one of those supports that can really turn the tides of a match.
And seeing him now on this steal pick, I'm kind of expecting them to get a relatively active within the early game if we do see D-Lab trying to do the same. As you said before, I couldn't have said it any better, man. Penguin really had a showing yesterday, and I more than respect his Richter. I would be fearing it at this point if I was any other of the top 4 teams.
Lobber, though, we see that Zaris is actually something that switched up. Usually we see that Zaris in the jungle, but Import went with the Kalari, a little bit more of the assassin type, trying to burst down that dual lane or whoever it needs to be, just kind of just deleted from this game. But Zaris now in that off lane is going to be chained up against the Terra, which is kind of a counter towards her. Lock her in a cage. Doesn't matter if you're trying to CC her if she can't go anywhere.
And we've seen Decker have a very similar effect on the Terra. So with them having not only the Zaris, but the Decker as well, they can deny some engages that are going to be coming out of Bone Druid as he does get active and eventually gets out of the lane. We're kind of pivoting the focus over to the mid lane and dual lanes as well. Toasty here on this Decker, a 68.8% pick rate, banned out from them 25%, but with a win rate of 45.3. That's getting real close to the 50%. It really shows just how valuable this pick can be.
It is so valuable, especially with Atosi. This is one of those heroes that we do highlight whenever it's picked up on him. And I mean, those stats are definitely a little bit lower for him himself, just because we know whenever he is on it, it's actually probably going to be greater. But Import, though, on that Kalari, I just want to highlight just a little bit in with that Decker. If they're able to have anybody in that containment fence, especially on a gank, and they have nowhere to go, he's just going to be able to burst down whoever's locked in.
Yeah, and that's a big factor of this D-Lab composition, right? They're going to be able to lock you in and force you to take some of this damage throughout this Decker with that Colosseum, and especially with that Spearoneer and Zaris just being such a potent force, as we have seen not only within this PCC but within previous ones as well. I'm kind of hoping to see Rogue allow themselves to scale into the late game, get Neft his items, and put him and Conte as well as Wingle into carry mode and see how they perform in this mid to late game.
Overall, Conte has been performing very well into this series. PCC 8 for him has been a new one, transitioning over from the Overprime coming into this league, and he's just been doing outstanding, kind of just spectacular in a sense, but where nobody really expected him to get this great of a start, making it to the top 4 in your first PCC 8, and look at this first initiation on this game, forcing that blink out on Appy Picker, already that pressure being applied in that mid.
And talking about a start, this is exactly what you expect to see coming out of Conte. He doesn't know what the S key is. He believes it's a disfigured W because that's the only thing he's ever truly known. As we're going to now see Import matching up against Conte here. It is going to be a disengage as the Aurora is going to be playing closer to that friendly side red.
Don't want to take any risky fights for no reason. He knows that Import is on that Kalari, the assassin. Her burst is impeccable. And I mean, she's just going to be able to burst him down there, especially when he doesn't have level 6 yet. Not too much into his kit to really stop that. It's just a meaningless fight. So just kind of waving the white flag to back out, do your red side. They do know he's over there, though. So he's going to have to be careful on when he wants to initiate a gank over on the dual lane.
And speaking of meaningless fights, something that does give a fight a lot of meaning is going to be the objectives, as Fangtooth may be coming up sooner rather than later here. We do know these teams both kind of take a different apparatus to how they play around at Rogue. Definitely has had a lot more success in being able to just lock down these objectives, while on the other end, D-Lab has also done much of the same, but has an easier time closing out games once they have them.
They're going to be able to do that on the side of D-Lab. I think with this setup and matchup, they have a lot of containment. Like we talked about the containment fence, we talked about the Zarya's cage. They have a lot of control over these neutral objectives, even though Rogue, which is ones that are going to be able to consider themselves to be the objective players. We looked at the stat sheet. They're able to be able to get more objectives throughout the game, but the big problem for Rogue is securing the end game, being able to close out these games, and that's how it's going to come down to, is with those big objectives later on, can they secure that, and can they end the game with it?
And can Happy Picker get out of this situation? As the wall does go up, and so does the Glacial Bifrost. Some solid damage is going to be laid against Happy Picker here, as Wangle is going to get the first blood.
Oh, disgusting. Knowing that the Blink is down, a huge wall over there to stop him from going to his towers, destroyed him. But look at Bungered, the Blink up, not level 6 yet. The Guillotine's not there for import secure. The kill able to escape, barely.
Nearly a 1-for-1 there, and this is exactly we know what Conte wants to do, right? He's going to get active, such as import. They're going to be looking for picks here earlier on, but with the not quite mispositioning, but maybe a slight overextension, knowing that Conte is going to be lurking in that mid, Howitzer gets caught out, and the kill is going to go into the hands of the mid laner and Gideon on the other side.
That's what you want, right? You want to get your team into an advantage to start pushing towards these objectives. Happy Picker still a little bit time on his Blink, probably about another minute less. Has to be careful in that mid lane. Now he knows the threat is there. The threat is real. And this might buy some time for Wango to be able to push up the mid lane a lot, for them to rotate to one of these neutral objectives.
And if you do leave a little bit of blood in the water, especially around these objectives being up, Conte is coming through with the tent, a torch, s'mores, because he is more than willing to absolutely camp out that lane, as we are going to see him now making a rotation into the enemy side jungle. Lauber is going to be showing a little bit of face, but utilizing that mobility in Aurora's kit, it is going to be a reset back over to the friendly side, as we can see some wards being placed along the river on both sides of this game.
You're going to see that vision control coming out of these two teams. I mean, this is the top four. This is the semifinals, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to see the best of the best play. So they need to have that vision control and make sure they know when these rotations are coming through. They have Wangle, they have Happy Picker from the mid lane who like to rotate. And especially with the Kallari on the map, you're going to need to have that ward vision down.
Speaking of the Kallari, we're seeing him get a little aggro, as it is going to be the Coliseum that now comes down. Bonetrude is going to be fighting for his life within the Rage Cage. Import playing off the back, and is going to use the game, and Lauber will pick up the execution, as the kills are going to be even up 1-1, but we're not quite done with the fighting yet. That Steel is going to get put into the Decker Cage. Looking to play the space onto the back, and he's going to be forced to utilize the Bull Rush to get out of the engagement, as the Gag Grenade will buy Neff the space he needs to get out.
With your Blink down, we knew that gank was coming over onto the right-hand side, but the double ult able to secure that kill just allows for Lauber to now start to control that side of the map. With Mini Prime being up, Fangtooth being up, this opens up for a lot, especially with how much they're able to push back Neft and Penguin inside the dual lane as well. They might just be able to pick up any one of these objectives.
And I'm looking forward to seeing them make this play, as we're going to see Toasty drop stun offline, though. Is not going to be able to help secure a little bit of damage onto Wangle coming out of the mid. Lakeinator maintaining all the pressure in the world right now, as he is going to be making a play for that gold side. Come Penguin, though, making a rotation, seeing if he can do anything to stop it, and the answer is going to be no, as he's just now going to take a little bit of free damage before he rotates back to his carry.
A little bit questionable there, going over there trying to stop him from getting a gold buff, being not a range support, but nonetheless, Lake able to get that gold buff. A little bit extra economy going towards the side of Dirt Lake and the boys with that. But still, that to be said, though, these neutral objectives are still up, and they're going to have to still try and get what they just saw, able to push out the dual lane to be able to contest this Fangtooth. We do see that Kallari and Conte are on the same side of the map, so this might get spicy, this might get dicey.
and it might get potentially a little bit fatal within the solo lane, as we have seen this Terra just getting chunked by this RS. However, having that little bit of mobility, he'll be safe. The same can't be said for Toasty, though, as we are going to see an engagement coming out of Penguin onto Lakeinator, the support off to the back end, and even more importantly, the jungler will be as well. Import playing that fog gate really well, but as a ward comes down, his position is going to be given up, and it looks like it's going to be a call for a disengage coming out of both of these teams.
Ooh, just not the right moment. They knew that Lakeinator had the blink up, so they couldn't really just full on send it. He would have just been able to escape that. Now, Fangtooth is going to be attacked. It's going to be looked to be out. The wave on the duo side is pushed in. That's going to allow them to allow that duo lane to free roam on. But look at Wangle. Look at the rest of the team. They're going to come in here, but it's going to be too late. And the first Fangtooth is secured by D-Lab.
This is going to be so dangerous for Rogue. As we talked about previously, D-Lab is so confident and so secure in their fundamentals to be able to close out a game when they have an objective lead. You can be up 5-10 kills, but if they have those Fangtooths on you, it puts you in the danger zone because they know how to utilize that little bit extra to just strangle you and make sure you are not able to breathe and eventually choke away the game.
That's why they're here, right? That's why they're on the top of the top. But they're going to have to show us again. Every game is different. Every set is different. And it's going to have to come down to consistency. We know D-Lab is consistent, though, but so is Rogue as they're showing themselves back up into this tournament with all of these players. So they're going to have to be able to show out here.
And show up as we're going to see another big ice wall. The Glacial Bifrost is going to be able to lock him down as Neft locks him away into the gray screen. It is going to be a kill that swings in favor of Rogue, but Happy Picker on the back end is going to be looking for a pick, but following it up is going to be Wangle. This is a dangerous position with Neft being also very low content. He's going to actually be able to body block and being able to combo the Penguin ulti as well. It is going to be a slam that slams down Toasty. He's cooked. And that's going to be 2 kills swinging in favor of Rogue, but not for free, as it's going to be an exchange for the mini orb.
What a cleanup, what a pickup. Rogue now in the kill lead. That rotation going off over into the left-hand side. Yes, it was not free, but it was a message sent towards Dirty Lake and the boys that we are here, and we are here to fight for this title.
They are firefighters on a road because they are just always looking for the smoke. I mean, how many times have we seen a rotation this game? We're sub 15 minutes in, and we have seen Conte living in these lanes. I'm talking about a rent, a mortgage he's paying monthly. And to be honest, D-Lab has the objective lead, though. So if they are able to not let this kill lead get too far, I believe that they're going to be the ones applying the pressure once we hit that 15-20 minute mark.
You're not telling a lie, but I don't even think it needs to be 15 minutes as they clean up a kill. Nev caught out in the front of his own tier 1 tower, and they pick up a kill to get that kill lead a little bit closer for the side of D-Lab.
You know, and that's partially just the strength of the Decker play, right? That range stun into some of the minuscule but still present damage that she's able to inherently do through her kit, and more importantly, the guaranteed damage that Lakeinator's going to be able to get. I mean, Neft couldn't have been any further into his tower without literally being behind it, but it ultimately doesn't matter when you're that low. All it takes is one good stun, and Decker can ensure that you are going to get sent back to base.
Bonjour here in a bad spot. There comes that Coliseum. Forces the blink out on Bonjour, so he is safe, but not for long. Spear of Nair just misses. His blink is down. Lauber, this might be unfortunate, buddy.
And off the back end, it is going to be Wangle with the Black Hole ult, but not going to be enough to get the kill onto him as the Blast Flower is going to be activated. And I'm expecting to see the Torn Space come out in hot pursuit, but with the Cosmic Stone being just barely online, Lauber is going to be able to give him a little bit of a dance class, ensuring that he can prolong his life as Happy Picker makes the rotation and forces Wangle to give up on the kill. R2000 is going to be deployed, and in response, it is going to be a blink coming out of him as Happy Picker drops the ult on the bottom side. It is going to be an ult coming out of Conte as the Epoch comes out as well onto Happy now in a 3v1 situation. He will fall, and Rogue will get another kill.
What is happening in this match, Ego? Lauber was dead to rights. Wangle just not able to hit an ability. Then the rotation, Happy Picker unable to secure the kill, and then now he's on the back foot. Man, that was a series of events, and they're not gonna lie, it still end up in the favor of Team Rogue.
I'm not gonna lie to you, man. As Wingo was getting that chase and as Lauber was winning that chase in the background, I could because he was absolutely clowning on Wingo within that instance, guaranteeing himself a way out, but not for free, as the cost is going to ultimately be the life of the mid laner, Appy Picker, who made the rotation to be able to help out just to catch the brunt in of a 3-man gank.
Second Fangtooth is coming on up. We do see that in the mini prime was already taken, already been distributed, so it's going to have to be able to be utilized for the second Fangtooth. Only a little bit of time is going to be left on it though, but still nonetheless something to help them secure it. D-Lab already on that rotation, looking to get control over that pit. If they can secure the second one here, they're going to be looking good for this mid to late game. We know this is mid to late game is when they start to turn that heat up and start to cook in the kitchen.
Welcome to the danger zone if they are able to lock down this second Fangtooth, especially if you don't have to trade anything into it. It would be a 3-0 on objectives at that point if you take into consideration that mini prime that did get taken earlier. Wangle, Penguin, Conte, though, playing the space around the Fangtooth as Import and Toasty do have eyes on it. Appy Picker is going to be playing from that mid lane with Neft as over into the solo lane. It is going to be Lauber as well as Bondrewd, who 1v1 and Bondrewd gets the solo dolo onto the Zarus now. That is a signal for all engines to go, as we are going to see the Rogue making a play for the Fangtooth.
The damage is unreal over there on that off lane, but look now the conversions here. Import, the Stealer is looking for his opportunity, but will they let him?
It is going to be an ice ball in order to lock them out. Guillotine is going to be forced to be used for mobility as Import is also very low, but not dead until he is. That's going to be a pickup of a kill going in favor of Rogue as playing onto the back end. It is going to be Penguin and Neft who are going to be able to help lock down the Fangtooth. Lakeinator maybe looking for a little bit more though. He's going to be looking to push up onto Penguin, who's going to be using the Bull Rush to create a little bit of space. This T1 being down could potentially be dangerous, but it doesn't look like anyone from D-Lab is going to be able to close the space.
No, not at all. Import tried to sneak on through the back side of that Fangtooth pit, used the double jump to get on there, but it wasn't close enough. A huge wall, as we can see in the replay here, stopping the damage from being conveyed onto the Team Rogue, and they're able to turn that fight, able to secure the Fangtooth. Yes, they lost to Gideon in the back end of it, but at the same time, they're able to pick up a neutral objective for themselves.
As Appy Picker may be getting picked up himself, all Terra did was walk at him and beat him, and that is going to be another kill that goes in favor of Rogue, as now they're going to be able to extend that kill lead to 5.
What is the damage on Terra right now? She's an absolute unit. She's not even a bruiser, consider an assassin. She hit Appy Picker with the Howie with 1-2 abilities, and goodbye, see you later. But a rotation from Bondrewd there, able to keep himself, just keep Rogue into the driver's seat, because not only is he winning that off lane, he's using the momentum there to switch it on over to the mid lane for stopping them getting that T1.
And off the back of that, Mini Prime is going to be CGI as they hear us from the casting booth, obviously putting a little bit more pressure on these objectives as they're going to be able to freely burn this down. And touching upon what you said earlier, F6, I couldn't agree more. What is the damage? Sure, Neft will hit you like a truck. I'm talking about Optimus Prime, but we saw Terra just mosey into the mid lane and hit Appy Picker with 8 Toyotas. Just walked him down, smack. Smack, and ultimately he didn't have a response to it, falling for relative free as they now make a play for that or Prime, get it, and even up the objective score.
That's what you want from a team Rogue, right? They do like to take these neutral objectives, and we're seeing it here. They're turning themselves back into their playstyle. Now they also have the kill lead, and with Rogue in the driver's seat, this is their game to lose. They just need to maintain this focus. They need to maintain these rotations and put D-Lab on the back foot even more to not allow them to get themselves back into this game.
I mean, you just said it in as many words of what we touched on earlier. They need to close this game out. The longer this game goes, I'm going to be honest, the more in favor I feel like it is for D-Lab, as we are going to see the big stun coming out. Wangle forced to use that torn space as Toasty secures the rotation with Lakeinator. He's going to be looking to play it as safe as he possibly can, while Lauber is going to be farming over here into the solo lane. We're now comfortably within the mid game here, F6. Who do you think, if I had to ask you, has the definitive edge in this moment?
I mean, it still has to be Rogue, right? They're the ones in the lead currently. They're playing exceptionally well, a few mistakes here and there. So they do have that advantage. But hold on a second here. Look at that wall. Look at that ice.
Dude, I would be so fed up because it is getting cold. The ice in his veins. It's going to set Neft up for yet another kill on to Lakeinator now. Playing the space onto the back end, though. We will see Import using that guillotine, but not being able to pick up any kills off of it. While in the mid lane, Abby Picker is going to be looking for a pick. Torn space utilized. Ulti on the back end as well to close the damage distance. It's going to force the blink out of Wangle.
And here comes a Coliseum over towards Bondrewd. He's looking to take this fight, but with that mini orb prime, should be safe and good to go. Conte is not done yet. Rogue is not done yet. Toasty is going to be finished.
Safe, something that this team in D-Lab has not known since minute one. He's everywhere. He's the boogeyman. He's Bloody Mary in your mirror, underneath your bed. Conte with every single rotation. And even when they're not present, Rogue is just setting up and executing on almost every kill they want. D-Lab is definitely in a tough position, and now being forced to play from behind are going to be looking to scale farther into this late game because the mid game just isn't doing it for them. And a key ability I do want to highlight, how many times have we seen it set up a kill within this game? The ice wall out of this Aurora, just denying and creating space all at the same time. It comes up and the exit route you thought you had just disappears.
Completely gone. I mean, Import playing that Kalari is in a really bad spot right now. You're looking for that assassin to try and keep a lead or stay even into these games, and he's not allowed to do that. He's not allowed to pick anybody off. Right now, Rogue are always together. There's always going to be at least two members to be able to stop and to help facilitate for them, and they're going to need to come back in here.
Wangle caught out just a little bit there. It's going to be utilizing the torn space, as now we're going to see an engage get picked onto Lakeinator. Penguin leading that up as the ulti is going to be able to knock up two, while on the back end, Conte is going to be looking to lock down one. Big ulti over the top end is going to be the black hole, not catching much, but forcing the rest of the team underneath the tower, as it is going to be a one-to-one trade with Conte, as well as Happy Picker going down.
Oh, you do not want to lose your jungler there for Team Rogue with the Fangtooth up. They do still have the advantage. They do still have some big bodies and the advantage with the lead. And here's that Bondrewd. Look at the damage applied from the Terra.
The bloodlust coming out of this solo lane is absolutely impeccable here, as Arbor is basically going to be isolated in defending this T1. He's going to be responding, though, with a big Coliseum, playing the space off the back end. Now, Import looking for a pick. Will he find it? The answer looks like no, because Neft found the support first and sent her back to base.
She can't get in anywhere. I'm telling you right now, she's not able to facilitate from an assassin type character because the way Rogue is playing. They're grouped up. They have the CC to block her away. The steal is going to stop her from doing anything she wants to. Getting close to Neft is not going to happen, especially with Penguin on steal.
I couldn't have said that any better myself, man. Penguin on anyone just feels like he may be in his prime right now. He is in a quote-unquote flow state, if you will. The amount of peel engage has been able to provide on this steel pick, all without dying an excessive amount, but making sure Neft is able to get an excessive amount of pressure in kills just seems so incredibly oppressive. Every time I have seen throughout this game, D-Lab maybe having a good rotation, doing a solid damage trade at the very least. Up there goes an Aurora wall. We got another Conte rotation. We're ulted at the same time. Okay, we got a full-in commit and dive onto Neft. Steel ulted us in response, hit us with the bull rush, and now he's 30 paces behind his tier 1 tower. This is such a tricky situation to be in as D-Lab, but if anyone's going to figure it out, I believe it's going to be the defending champions.
I mean, you couldn't have said it any better there for me. I mean, D-Lab is notorious before coming back from these deficits. They're known to be calm, cool, and collective to get themselves back into the game. But I mean, with this deficit that they have, they're down 1 Fangtooth, they're down 2 objectives. They're down on almost 10 kills. They're at 8 right now. But the way Rogue is playing, it might increase. This is going to be pretty hard to come back from, but they do have a chance here. We know the bigger objectives are up. The next one's going to be the Primordial Fangtooth, then the Big Orb Prime is as well. As long as they can control a pit, get one of these objectives. We know Import is notorious as well to be stealing these neutral objectives. And if they come out with one big one, they might be able to get themselves back on even footing.
Talk about controlling a pit, taking a moment to look at the map. You see a lot of orange around that prime, and I'm not talking about just players. The warded vision over there is absolutely superb. This squad and Rogue wants to know the moment you breathe within the general direction of that objective, as we are going to see a lot more limited vision on that left side. But considering Fangtooth is down, there's no need to have it as much. And with that vision, it also does give Rogue now the safety of mind to be able to reset and make their way back into lanes.
I mean, it also gives them a chance to set up a gang, set up a rotation that is pretty much D-Lab's not expecting, right? So if they're able to know what D-Lab is doing, their positioning, they already know that the Klari showed on that red hand or the red buff side. They know that they have the vision control over on that Or Prime Pit. They still need to be careful, though, here in the next minute or two over on the side of the Fangtooth.
Lobber, Blink plus ulti is not going to be enough there, as the Coliseum is going to force it out. Penguin maybe looking to get a little bit back for his teammate, as we're actually going to see a surge of damage coming out of D-Lab. Ignore the logo, but that is going to be an Oceanic Whelm that ultimately is going to overwhelm their primary damage dealer in Neff, despite utilizing some resources. Now we're going to see a grouping of a lot of blue, like a tidal wave, as they begin to make their way around the map.
They picked up Neff, but they also spent a lot of resource to pick up Neff here. And we know we just talked about these big objectives that are up. It might have been worth it if they're able to just immediately shift over to an objective and take it. But the fact that they didn't get the jungler just doesn't make too much sense to me, especially diving Neff onto his tier 2 using so many ults.
So many ults that I will agree with you, could be better used just in case you're going to be making an immediate play onto the objective. Don't get me wrong, I understand the threat that Neff poses in my casual games, in my ranked games, and in the PCC. But in response to that, we are seeing Or Prime get started because Neff is back and Conte never went anywhere. It's going to be Penguin and Bondru, Terra, combination of Steel, setting up some degree of a defense, as Happy Picky and Toaster are going to be looking for a potential poke out, but it looks like both sides are going to agree to disagree and get a disengage.
They wanted to start it, but they just didn't have everything they needed there to really get it down. They still needed enough to help burst it all the way there, and it just wasn't a good look. I do actually respect the fact that Rogue knew that, and they kind of backed off and said, hey, we'll re-attempt this again another time. We need to make sure we're set and ready to go. You see Terra answering the left lane. You see Drongo answering the right. They need to set these waves up. They need to push them back on and into their favor towards D-Lab to make sure they have a little bit more control on the map to allow them to really be confident to take one of these neutral objectives.
Do you feel the pressure, man? Can you feel the tension almost in the air? Both of these teams are playing so cautious, so meticulously, and both know that slipping up once could lead to an ultimate loss within this game. As things begin to scale outwards into the late game, all things become equalized. That early game advantage you have disappears as these items come on for the other team, and you're able to maintain it through things like the Fangtooth, but that gold advantage over time is slowly going to slip away, and it kind of feels like D-Lab is just more comfortable in these instances than other teams are.
I mean, they have a right to be comfortable. Look at the level lead with a Lakeinator on the Grim versus Neff on top of his Drongo. I mean, yes, it's not everywhere, but that is a big lead to be having deficit because we know that Grim does a lot of damage. And now here we see that is the trigger. They saw the mid lane being pushed out. They're going to try and bait this, but not going to be able to get anything out, as now both teams take a yet another reset again.
They're just playing a little bit of footsie, feeling the other one out, throwing a couple of abilities at the prime and say, hey, who's going to come here to contest first? Can we get a pick here? Can we possibly maybe take a 5-on-5 engagement? Because we are confident in our team fight at all times. As now, we do see Toasty on the back end does get brought to that sub 50% threshold, knocking him out and maybe just sending it to all signs say go, as this is going to be an objective trade with Rogue taking prime, but D-Lab able to pick up a Fangtooth.
I mean, this is a good thing. This is a good thing for D-Lab. They get the primordial, allows for them to stick together and win these team fights. On the other hand, though, Rogue are going to have the mini or the big Or Prime, and they're going to allow to start to siege here. they might be able to get some T2 towers down. I don't think they're going to be able to push the inhibitors just quite yet, especially if it's a 5v5. They're going to have to try and split up the side of D-Lab with this Primordial Fangtooth, but at the same time, they're also going to try and not get caught out, because if a 5-man rotation from D-Lab with this Primordial Fangtooth is there, this could be potentially game-changing.
I can say something that has been said many times before, but I'll try to put a little bit of a twist on it, if you will. That Primordial Blaze will burn you if you do not take it seriously, if you do not play around it cautiously, especially on some high DPS characters such as Grim, with the setup of Decker and the absolute lethality that comes in between those two daggers in Import's hands on this Kalari pick. This is a situation for D-Lab and D-Lab fans where you're kind of happy to see that objective trade, because there is a potential that Rogue doesn't capitalize and doesn't get any solid objectives here. And Import and Lobber, as well as the rest of D-Lab, can now take their turn putting on the pressure with this Primordial Blaze.
This also allows for D-Lab to be a little bit more aggressive, right? As you can see with the map presence, they can't split up. They can't do a standard siege push, maybe like a 1-3-1. They need to be grouped up with at least 4. And they're going to need to be able to get these fights in, as you see over here in the off lane. But I don't think you want to go after this big tank Terra Bunchard with that Ore Prime, able to regenerate, able to just have that little bit of an advantage. They need to get together here, at least with 4 men, and try and get a peek over in this mid T2.
Regeneration, such a key factor, right? The sustain of, if you don't get that immediate burn, they're going to be able to lick their wounds and reset. However, that doesn't look like it'll be a problem, as we see Conte gets absolutely melted, no pun intended for the Aurora. The ball is going to be offline, though, as it is going to be a look for a full
GTFO,
reset,
please.
but Happy Picker with the GTFO that does lock down the kill, and now locks down the T2 coming out of the mid lane. This is a rallying coming out of D-Lab, who was previously behind on objectives, behind on kills, but never down and out, as they are confidently going to be playing on the edge of this inhib.
Oh man, the Lakenator with the GTFO, with also Lakenator getting a tick as well. Both primordial ticks going down on Conte there, allowing for D-Lab to pick it up. Now, once they got that T2 pick, this is where they look to see just middle inhibitor, and they do get it. Now the game, now the tide for the big lake is changing, and this is what they needed. They're going to be able to clear out some buffs on their way out here, because look at that, Rogue cannot really contest too much, and this is why D-Lab is the top tier team into this predecessor scene.
The tide always recedes, but just as it does, it is guaranteed to return. And this is exactly what we're saying out of this team. We can't act surprised. We predicted it 2 to 3 times on this match. The longer the game goes, the better D-Lab gets. It's like a group, a team-wide passive that they slowly accumulate. They get used to you, and then they capitalize on your mistakes. And ultimately, Rogue taking the trade there for Prime to that Primordial, we can see now, was a mistake, F6.
I mean, it was a mistake, but also the fact that Conte was so far pushed up and just getting picked out there was also a bigger mistake. So, I mean, it comes down to a lot of these different factors in these games. It's never just one decision. It's never just one thing. There's just a multitude there that lined up, allow for them to push in for that there. Because if Conte was still alive, there's no way that they can push in, especially with the walls that we've been seeing all game, with that ice, with that sweep. They shouldn't allow that.
I agree with you there, man. Good teams make some mistakes. Great teams punish you for every single one that you make, and that's what we saw there. D-Lab taking the trade into that Primordial Blaze, then immediately punishing Conte for that overextension, and then taking the inhib. It took 2 to 3 actions to swiftly change the momentum of this game in under 5 minutes to being back in D-Lab's court. But it's not down and out, especially with teams of this caliber. F6, it really does feel like the momentum is on D-Lab's side, but it's still anyone's game.
Anyone games indeed. Rogue still have a certain economy that allows for them to still be in this game. Yes, they have the mid inhibitor that is down, and they have to still pay attention towards that mid inhib, but it's not all for nothing, right? The Primordial Fangtooth is coming back up. Next is going to be the big R Prime. There's still big objectives to be taken, and we all know if you're able to secure one, win a big team fight around one of these big objectives, you do turn the game back into your favor, and you can do whatever you want.
Whatever you want, indeed, and so much more whenever you get that passive boon that comes off of either one of these objectives. But as we could see more potently is going to be that Primordial Blaze. And as a response to that, we are going to see Rogue making their way towards that pit. Some vision coming onto it from the other side in D-Lab, but while that is happening, it is getting lit up like a Christmas tree on that side of the map. Wards everywhere, eyeballs, the worst enemy of a Kalari, as Import is going to be watching the slow falling in of this team and gathering his own, and what I feel like F6 is going to be a huge, possibly game-defining team fight coming.
Oh, it's definitely going to be game defining. When these big neutral objectives are up, it's always game defining. Now, though, Rogue is having the advantage of controlling that river, controlling that pit, but with the fact that the mid lane is consistently pushing towards them, it's going to be ruffled. But look at this damage.
Toasty just getting absolutely burned, but onto the back end, we can see Conte's going for a prio pick, and that is going to be Appy Picker, who is going to go down and immediately make his way back up, as Conte's going to be looking to meet him in the skies. Neff will send him even higher.
No.
Gamers, I'm talking about Heaven's Gates. Appy Picker is going to get picked off, and now we're going to see a rallying coming out of Rogue as they are going to be migrating closer to the river.
That is not what you want to see on the side of D-Lab. Appy Picker getting picked in the mid lane now opens up an opportunity for Rogue to go towards this Primordial Fangtooth. That is a big amount of damage, but they still have Lake and they still have Import.
Their HP is kind of low here, man. This is oh so very dangerous. Lauber is going to be playing off to the edge, making a way around the Decker cage. It is going to be a wall that does get set up in hopes of being able to secure the Primordial Fangtooth, which they do. Wangle now utilizing the ulti is going to be dropping the epoch almost immediately. The HP bars are going to be low, but Toasty, Import, Lakeinator look like they potentially could be brought even lower. Torn space over the top of the Riptap. It's going to be able to lock down Toasty. As now within the middle lane, it's not going to be one member, it's not going to be two, but three who are going to find themselves at the death screen. All that survive is going to be Kalari and Zaris, as we're going to see the rallying of the Rogues now making their way to the Prime Orb.
Yeah, they get a clean there. They got the Primordial Fangtooth, but they lost their right in him because of the wave management coming out of Dirty Lake and the boys. Yes, it's a tough loss, but at the same time, you also got a lot of benefit there, putting Rogue on the back foot, and now Rogue needs to still take down these 3 T2s, and they still need to answer back with these inhibitors.
The tower advantage really becoming prominent there. It doesn't matter how many objectives you have if your core is under siege. Now with 2 inhibitors down, that is the case, that is the situation Rogue finds themselves in. This is such a sticky situation to have to be in. Nonetheless, we're gonna have to see them make the best out of it and start knocking down some of these tier 2 towers.
They have it. The middle inhibitor has respawned. It's still a dead inhibitor though, so at any moment, if Dirty Lake and the boys have an advantage to siege down through the mid lane, they can still take it down. But with that right inhibitor just going down on the same side, they're going to need to be focused their push. You do see that 1-3-1 coming out here. They are double buffed up, so they do have a significant advantage, especially with the lead what they have on their economy. Now, it's up to Rogue to secure this. This is up to Rogue to try and finally close out this game. D-Lab, though, is not going to let that happen so easily.
And this is where Rogue struggles. They can get these objectives, they can get these picks, these kills, they can run up a lead, but can they successfully run down your core? That's ultimately the only thing that matters. Looking at the top of that screen, you need that blue bar to be reduced 2-0 to win a game. Everything else is secondary. And now with 6, all we can do is watch and see what they do.
It looks like they're focused on that right-handed, so they match. That is good. Now they're trying to shift their attention towards the mid and the left. This is where D-Lab needs to make a decision. Which inhib do you want to defend, or do you want to give them both up? And does it not look like, because Lauber's engaged on Bondrew?
Yeah, this is going to be a big trade, but Terra is pretty techy, so it is going to take some solid resources. Black Hole coming over the top, and it is going to bring a couple of members slow, but not dead quite yet, as we are going to see a Blinkhead coming out of the Aurora, and she's icy cold, and the only thing colder is death. That's it. It's going to be 2 immediate takedowns. Lauber is now going to enter the fray. The Spear of Near barely being offline, as Wangle is going to find himself entangled with the enemy team. It ultimately is going to be a 1-2 trade, but that's not counting the inhibitors. That far left one is going to go down, and the core is at risk of suffering the same fate. Lobber playing off the backside is going to be looking to body block to some degree, but with Appy Picker's damage, they may not have enough, as game one is going to be stolen by the Rogue.
They have done it. They secured the final parts of the game. Dirty Lake and the boys looked like they were coming back, but Rogue said, hey, we are here, baby. We're going to take that crown. Game number one, heater, banger, already off to a good start.
What an absolute banger, a heater, an all-star performance coming out of both of these teams. This is exactly what the semifinals deserve, and this is exactly what these teams delivered. F6. Throughout that entire game, I felt like I was riding a pendulum, a roller coaster. There was so many swings. It was so exciting, and I cannot wait to see what these guys are going to be doing in game two, F6.
Game two is going to be even better. I know Dirty Lake and the boys do not want to go out on a 2-0 sweep, but at the same time, the way Rogue was playing, a few oopsies there swinging into the favor of Dirty Lake and the boys, but the fact that they were able to close out that game, the fact that they were able to see those fights, Conte, unbelievable gameplay. You didn't see it through his kills, but you saw it through the mechanics, through the way he was playing throughout the game, facilitating for his team, and if they keep that up, this might be over for D-Lab.
One more game to deny D-Lab history. D-Lab hunting for that crown to be the first to get the back-to-back. However, before that, they got to catch and lock up the Thieves in the Night Rogue. And I'm excited to see what comes up next, but not as excited as I am to see what Desk has to say.
Thank you very much, Ego and F6. What a game one. A lot of people weren't expecting to see that. Our defending champions, they've got their backs up against the wall. What did we see in that game, fellas?
Well, it was a pretty close game. The beginning started with the side of Dirty Lake and the boys. They were like ahead, even if they were behind on kills. Like they got like 45 CS lead, 90 CS lead in the first 20 minutes. They also get structure and objective lead, so they were like doing well for themselves. But at any point in the mid game, it was whole Rogue show coming from their team comp. And then in the late game, I felt like D-Lab would be able to scale a little bit much, but Rogue finding some very nice fight, catching like Toasty and then Appy Picker in the like at the 30-minute mark, certainly like started to shift everything around, and then they played correctly. They got double buff and they never let go and get the win at the end.
Yeah, well, I will say, if there's one thing that everybody can apply in their solo queue games is don't give up. Like that is the exact reason why you don't give up, right? It didn't look like great in the mid game for Rogue, with the objectives and the towers not going their way, but it did look really good in the kills. They were down in CS, like you were saying, Mugi, but they still fought. They still were able to take those little advantages going through that mid to late game to actually pull through and get a win.
They have a win. They've got one under their belt. They are one game away from moving to our finals, getting that payday in for the day. We will have a game two for you, but beforehand, we've got something a little bit special, a little bit different that we normally don't do, or that we haven't done in the past, but we're gonna start today. We have 4 500 platinum giveaways, in-game currency. Get yourself a skin, get yourself an affinity track, buy yourself a hero. We need an exclamation point ticket in the chat to sign up for the 500 plat giveaway. We'll run it through the break. We'll announce the winner when we're back. We'll be back with game 2 in just a couple of minutes. Welcome back, Predecessor family. Big shout out to my friend Mr. Cursor. Rolls a 6 in the giveaway, wins that 500 platinum. Keep your whispers open, Cursor. We will be reaching out to you, but that's only number 1 of 4 platinum giveaways that we're doing today. We still have a chance to win. Leave me alone, buddy. We got to focus on this game that we just had. A little bit of a surprise. Rogue winning game 1. D-Lab kind of the heavy favorites coming into this. A lot of people are expecting a 2-0 in this. Rogue not going down fighting. What does D-Lab have to do to turn this around and get back into this series?
I feel like when it comes to Rogue, I underestimated the bonus of like an even PCC, because even PCC is supposed to be EU, so that's the only EU team remaining, so it's normal. But yeah, no, I feel like D-Lab played correctly. They need to shave off the little mistake in the late game. I would love also maybe like a draft that have a little bit more beefy frontliners, because like we know that D-Lab loves to be able to play with Lobber that can just frontline either with a Sevrog or with like a more beefy tank that can create a lot of space. And I feel like that's what they lacked, and that's why they had trouble to actually win those team fights in the late game, because they didn't have anything to create space.
Yeah, I would say the biggest ticket for D-Lab right now is to take away the Aurora. We've seen Conte do this time and time again. His pathing in the early game has been so good, and his impact on the game with that Aurora has been insurmountable for a lot of the teams. So I'd like to see some picks and bans being switched up here. Maybe on the side of Rogue, taking away that Howie. We did see a lot of impact that Appy Picker did have. While he didn't have the greatest of score lines, he was pumping out that damage. And maybe on the side of D-Lab, maybe taking that Aurora away.
That might be the strategy. We've seen Conte really pop off on that Aurora pretty much every time he has had it. I expect his Zaris to be heavily contested through this again, but it is time to get into picks and bans for the second game of this semifinal, potentially the clinching game for Rogue in this tournament.
And as we can see, once again, Dirty Lake and the boys is the first ban first pick, and they're gonna ban the Aura. They don't want Conte on Aura, like we have seen what he can do, like both in the Fang boost, but also here on the PCC. And it kind of confirmed that all the teams kind of prefer the first pick, first ban in the tournament. Like it seems to be the meta. That's where you have like the better draft. And so that's what we're going to go here once again. On the side of Rogue, like Aura has been banned. So you can like either remove the Zarus and then you offer the Terra, or you can leave both open, but they decided to opt for the solution of the Zarus ban, which I feel like should mandate like a Terra pick for D-Lab. Like Lobber is very good on it, and Bondrud has been doing like a surgical one in the previous match, and that's exactly what Dirty Lake and the boys are opting to.
Yeah, so we do see the Terror come in for D-Lab. Whether that goes for import or whether that goes into the offlane, we still don't know. They might pick that Kalari again. I think that will go later in the draft, but we do see that Rogue pick up that Gideon. It did work for Wang the last game. He was able to get off a lot of big black holes. He did have a little bit of a snafu early on in the game, kind of clowning around on that offlane, but overall he did have a really good performance on that pick, so not surprised to see that here. I'm interested to see that this Grim is picked up so early. I know it is a strong pick for a lot of these teams, but we did see it not have success last game. We'll see if Nest can have success on this pick this game.
I've never seen Neft not have success on a hero. All of the different things that you can do with Grim, the way to slow somebody down with your auto attacks, that long-range poke that the casters were referring to in the last game and that Mugi was talking about us in it, gonna be immediately followed up by the Drongo, so a little bit of potential counterplay there, a lot of safety in the Drongo. We should be getting another pick out of D-Lab here. What are we expecting, Mugi?
Well, I feel like on the side of D-Lab, they already draft pretty well. We got the Argus that can be flexed on the support role or in the mid lane. So that's already like something that can opens up the situation. But also with this Terra pick being picked very early, that means that the Sevrog for Lobber is still on the table, because they can always send like the Terra onto import, and then Lobber can play the Sevrog, and they don't really have direct counter on the side of Rogue. And actually with this Aura ban, the Zarus ban, and the Terra first pick on the side of D-Lab, on the side of Rogue, I'm starting to get like a little bit scared of what is going to be their front line. They decided to pick the Gideon, but we all know that Gideon is not the main initiator, he's the second initiator. And so to answer that question, we're gonna go for Quang, which was usually the default pick for Conte when the Aura was taken away. So I do assume to see that going into like the jungle, but once again can also be onto the offlane for Bondrud, because there is not a lot of many options still remaining there with all those front line being removed. So might be more like frontline light, and that maybe favored Dirty Lake and the boys, because it's a type of comp they kind of favored over Rogue.
Yeah, I would agree with you there, Mugi. I think this Quang is going to go in the jungle. We do see that the gadget is taken off the table, so maybe Rogue is thinking that Toasty's going to take this Argus into the support role and just pinching that mid pool a little bit for Appy. We will see maybe him going back towards the Howie in the later game, but we do see Richter being taken off the table here. Penguin did find a lot of success on it yesterday, but he will not be playing here. I maybe expect that Penguin does go back to that steel pick that he did play and did find success on in the last game. But the Muriel is still up. Muriel is still a good pick with the Quang engage. The Muriel on top is definitely a lot of CC and a lot of damage and a lot of good engage for Gideon to kind of follow up on. So Sereth being picked up. Interesting pick. I would maybe think that this is a denial pick for D-Lab here. We have seen that Quang and Sereth yesterday. We saw that those two match up. Sereth was really good into Quang, but we won't see that here. So interesting pickup here.
Yeah, probably going into the hands of Bondred here in the off lane. We saw him play that a little bit yesterday. I do believe, I know for a fact that they won that game. We will get the Howitzer out for Appy Picker again. May have not had the best performance on it in the last game as far as KDA goes, but Howitzer definitely a comfort pick for Appy Picker. There is a lot of burst on this team. We're also going to round it up with that patented Lobber Sevarog.
And here we have a very like Dirty Lake and the Boys type of comp, Sevrog on the Lobber. This time we will be able to create a lot of space. And I think also that's the main reason we see this Richter ban consistently is because like Happy Picker loves the Howitzer. And if one thing Richter does perfectly is to shut down an Howitzer because like it's a big fridge, very easy to hook, and if he gets hooked, he's absolutely dead because it's a caster. Caster don't have access to any cleans, they only have access to Epoch, which is a stasis, which cannot stop like really a hook from happening. And as Mr. Meds was calling for it, we're gonna go for the steal. I think it kind of makes sense because we're kind of lacking a little bit on the front line, the initiation part, and like we said, we need people to be able to create some chaos, otherwise this Sereth and this Gideon are not gonna be able to play, so that makes perfect sense here to go for the steal once again for Penguin.
Yeah, I like these two comps here. I think D-Lab is playing that more front-to-back team fight comp with the Sevarog and the Terra going in first, you know, having that Argus, getting that big stun, having that pillar, creating a lot of chaos in these team fights, and allowing that Drongo and Howitzer in the backline to kind of blow up the targets. But we will see if Rogue, you know, with that more pseudo non-tanky team, if they can, you know, punch back and get onto those backline carries.
We're gonna be quick about this because I cannot wait to get into game 2. I just want to hear from both of you. Does Rogue make our finals, or can D-Lab pull out a victory in game 2 here?
I feel like Sevarog, Lobber, I will have to go for D-Lab, and also because I want a game 3 of between those two teams.
Yeah, I'd love to see a game 3 as well. I will hand it to D-Lab on this one. I do think Rogue kind of picked a, you know, more risky comp. They have afforded themselves the ability to take on a little more risk with that first game win. But I will hand this over to D-Lab. I think they do take this one.
And I will hand it over to our wonderful casting duo, Ego and F6, so we can find out the truth about who wins game 2.
Gamers, welcome back. You knows in the casting booth, it's Ego, always rocking with you, and F6, always rocking with me. It's the two-man band, E Squared. Brother, are you excited for this game 2?
I am more than excited. I got goosebumps, baby, because this is game number 2. Dirty Lake and the boys. We see import, though, on the Sev. This is going to be a big game changer. Terra in the off lane with a Lobber this time. We expected something different, but now we even have something spicier.
I'm watching this draft, man, and I'm rubbing hand sanitizer on my palms because D-Lab has the most disgusting comp I've ever seen in my life. And this is exactly what they wanted to do. As our desk pointed out, they're very much so playing the front-to-back comp. You got import on that Sevarog, Terra also to head up and eat some of that damage. And on the back end, you're telling me I'm getting poked by R2000s and the Psionic Obliterator and a Drongo? The Radarounds are going to go absolutely crazy this round, man.
Oh man, it's gonna be good, but I still believe Rogue has the capability here. We've seen Penguin time and time again being a huge factor in these team fights. Let's not forget about the verticality with the Gideon. There's really nobody to stop him but the Argus. So I mean, if Argus is not there ready to stop from that black hole from being initiated in these team fights, it's gonna cause a lot of commotion. It's gonna stir up that pot.
And speaking of the general draft of Rogue, the Gideon is something that we did highlight a little bit. However, something that I wasn't quite expecting was this Seraph pickup for Bone Druid, man. How do you feel about that pick?
Into a Terra, I feel like she's going to be okay. Into Lauber, I feel like she's not going to be as well, but she is a great character, almost a 50% win rate. We don't see her picked up a lot. We don't see her banned a lot, but she's a very unique, specific pick. And I think Lauber, though, is going to have an advantage into this lane because Terra, we saw the damage from last game. We saw the menace, the pain, and the grief into the eyes of everybody against her. So it should be a good game. And Dirty Lake and the boys with this draft are looking nice.
You know, I very much so do feel like this Terra pick, especially based on what we saw last game, it's kind of like Michael Myers. We're going to just walk you down and ultimately you are going to end up dead. And it's only going to now be a question to see if Lauber, of all people, you know, solo lane Lauber can replicate that same effect. I think the answer is going to be yes, but more of the question so is going to be, is Rogue going to be able to stifle it? There are some solid picks onto this composition. I do like the Grim. I do like the Steel as well. And more than that, I just like Penguin overall. And Conte, and we do put our trust from the fan base. This is cooking up to be an excellent game 2 overall.
Conte is known for picking backline bruisers. He's the Aurora, great job on that in game number 1. We see him now with the Quang, the same objective from these heroes or what they're trying to do as he now looks on into this mid lane with Appy Picker a little bit out of position.
Oh, the tether onto the mine. It's going to force out the blink now, as that did not work. From over the edge, he was able to hold him down, and now Appy Picker is going to have a little bit less safety while in this lane, waiting for what feels like an inevitable series of rotations coming out of Conte.
Already forcing that blink at 3 minutes. We won't be able to see that blink back up at till 8 minutes, and it's going to be a rough time for Appy Picker in the mid lane. A little bit curious though on why they didn't get the river buff there to just deny that from Appy Picker, but that's going to allow him to be in the lane a little bit longer. But let's look at this dual lane. We're already staring at it. Toasty Lake versus Penguin Neft again. This duo on a Lake and Toasty are kind of criminal to where how much damage they can output towards the enemy team with that Argus stun, Big Dread Nova coming out of nowhere, and just being able to throw that silence grenade with the red rounds. I mean, if they get caught out on that side of Neft or Penguin, it's going to hurt.
It's going to be vile as we're going to see another rotation for Conte, who is going to be able to pick up first blood. But Import now on the rotation does want to do something, but will be forced to watch as it is going to be the Rogue who strikes first.
Kaze spinning the block back, and then he's like, hey, I know you ain't got a blink. I don't care you're in your T1, but look at Lauber. Oh, the axe misses. Is he going to chase? But here's Import looking for that subjugate.
Blink, blink, but he does in order to get out of what would have been definitive kill range for Import here. Doubling back to what you said earlier, spinning the block, living on the block, renting out the house right next to this mid laner howitzer. This is exactly what Conti likes to bring to his mid laner at Wango. We're going to apply a ton of pressure on this lane and ensure that you can comfortably make your way into that mid and late game unless the enemy jungler here in Import can do anything to stop it.
I mean, Sev is going to take a little bit to get online. One of the big problems with the Sev in the jungle is his ability to get pushed in, ability not to have as much an aggressive nature when it comes throughout that early game. Meanwhile, with the Quang, he's going to be able to clear these camps. He's going to be able to look at these ganks and pretty much have a lot more success. But when the mid to late game arrives, that's when you're going to see the big Sev start to get a little bit more impact into these fights. And with the Terra rotation, these 5v5 and these team fights are going to look different than what these ganks are looking like right now with these 2v1s and 1v2s.
At 20-25 minutes, I'm expecting Seth to look a lot like this D-Lab roster, absolutely stacked. And when he is engaging with the follow-up of Lauber on this Terra pick, someone he looks so comfortable and confident on, I'm expecting to see these two frontliners pay dividends to this backline. As you pointed out earlier, that stun coming out of Argus is going to be absolutely vital in getting some quick lockdown kills or setting their frontliners up for success by knocking the damage dealers out of it, even for just a couple moments. That being said, though, we are already going to see Import and Conte both hovering this duo side.
We've seen them do this game and game and game. I mean, they're always on the same side of the maps, but look at this. It's really who can get the advantage. Import walking over a ward so they know he's coming, and he's not going to have the advantage because right now his health is not the same as the rest over the side of Rogue.
They're looking pretty filled up on the Rogue side. Penguin Conte, in combination with the carry on this Grim EXE, are going to be able to comfortably take a team fight if D-Lab lets them look for one. It looks, though, like the disengage is going to be coming out of the blue side, out of the defending champions, as they're going to want to be a little bit more cautious and take their time in scaling to where that Sevarog and that Terra are going to be able to comfortably set them up for some objective takes later in the game.
They have that rounded out comp, but so does Rogue. I mean, I think Rogue is a little bit harder to actually accomplish. They need a lot of setup, and they also need everybody into the position. Meanwhile, on the side of D-Lab, it's kind of just easy. They're kind of just walking together front to back line here. But with that being said, Rogue already with a hot start with that first blood seems to be like they're trying to take control of this game early once again, and they're going to still need to be able to close out because we saw that D-Lab still has that opportunity and still knows how to get back and come back from a deficit.
Yeah, and out of all the deficits in the world, it being 1-0 nearing 8 minutes into the game is not one that is going to be extremely hard to pull yourself out of. One thing I do want to see out of Rogue, as we are going to make our way into that team fighting phase later, is them utilizing this kind of as a dive comp. You have some very easy ways to get on top of the backline, utilizing the torrent space coming out of Gideon. The Seraph can look for a pick with the mobility that's inherent to her kit, and the big steel ult, one of the most impactful ults around in the pit. Either one of them can set you up for success. So as both of these teams scale, they both have a very key feature, at least at this moment, and that's options on how they want to take these fights.
As Import though lurking over towards the mid lane, looking at Wango, already used it, and now the flash is going to be taken away, and that's going to be a huge resource expended from the side of Rogue.
It feels a little bit less bad with the torrent space on the Gideon. You can still play a little bit closer to the enemy team's T1 tower as you're in this farm phase of the game. That being considered, though, if Import continuously applies pressure onto these lanes, as we're seeing here, it could be disastrous, as we're going to see a Colossal Blow get absorbed by the Grill. More than likely, it is going to be a big steel shield, as it is going to be a lot of pressure that does ultimately get put onto Penguin, as Toasty is going to be able to cook up the Waddler within the duo lane. It's going to be 1-1 on the kill boards.
Easy pickings, able to utilize the Grim bubble there. I don't know why he didn't go for Penguin, but the fact that they're able to still pick up a kill was huge on their part, and now that opens up the first Fangtooth, the first neutral objective secured by Dirty Lake and the boys, and they are now cooking.
It's just a little bit of a two-piece combo, if you get what I mean. We're going to take out this guy, establish pressure, push wave, and then we're immediately going to make a play for that Fangtooth. And that's what the best teams do, right? They get a pick, and they took seconds to be able to capitalize on it. I don't think a full minute passed between the kill and the objective going down. And you can look over onto the Rogue side, and they got absolutely nothing. No objective up for them to take, no rotation to another lane to establish pressure. They just lost some advantage, and nothing has been done about it yet.
Not yet. We did see, though, that they tried to look over towards the mini orb prime, but the fact that Lauber showed face allowed for him to be able to just kind of push them away. Import get a little bit dicey. They get a little bit squirrely towards this blue buff, as we see Rogue putting on the aggressive nature that they are trying to get D-Lab know that, hey, we're still in this game.
And in response, coming on the back end, Howitzer R2000 already taking away a fifth of that HP bar, but looking to take away more
Toasty,
from
blink.
Toasty. Get it back in blood. They do, as the Dwarfman is going to reduce even further in stature. Lakeinator is going to be forced to play closer to his tier 2, as it's going to be a rallying of 4 over on the duo lane. But now a rotation coming out of Appy Picker and Import could change the narrative. Some damage does come out and does come up, as so does Conte with the good knockup of Penguin. The ever stalwart support is going to send himself back into the fray, now utilizing the blink in order to create space for his team. The subjugate, though, comes up big, and Appy Picker comes up bigger with the damage, as it now evens out at 2-2 at 11 minutes in.
They got aggressive, they got the kill, but they also made a mistake and stayed a little bit too long. The rotation from D-Lab went in and came out on top to get that even trade across the board. That subjugate hitting, that Howie mine with the boop to put him out of position with a colossal blow. Great, but look at Conte still on the aggress.
Oh man, this feels like a definitive mistake, dude. Consider it a Thanksgiving angle. Make your plate and go home. You are not sleeping over. You are not staying like you need to just get out of the situation. He is kind of low, but that is still a Drongo. And as we saw there, that was a Drongo with almost one more kill.
Almost indeed, but now there's still this attention towards this dual lane. There's no Fangtooth up. There is no objective to be taken here, but still the attention is put towards it. Nothing in towards the middle of the off lane. There's just so many things happening here.
There's so much going on this map, and it does feel like a little bit of a scramble for both of these teams to establish dominance. Rogue going down with that 1-2 combo, and Lauber possibly going down, as well as we are going to see the Seraph be getting a full-on engage before deciding to disengage in response to the blink coming out of Lauber. Both of these solo laners looking for a reset, as if either one of them commit, this could be a high kill potential instance.
Bondru there using the Seraph to be able to apply that much damage towards a Lauber, but Import lurking on the side of the map. Lane being pushed in. Bondru's gonna have to stay, maybe contest this. This allows for the Import to be able to invade this 3 camp with the control that Terra has on that right-hand side.
Yeah, and now we may see a possible rotation over here onto the mini prime, not only possibly coming out of Import, actually not as he's going to be making his way back to the friendly side jungle, but out of Wangos. It looked like he was going to be showing a little bit of face there. Digressing, though, now firmly making our way into the mid game, just a minute or two away from that 15-minute mark. I'm going to get in your head here kind of early, F6, on who you think has the edge making their way fully into the mid game.
Right now, the momentum is with Rogue. Conte showing confidence, the rest of Team Rogue behind him. They have everything that they need. It's still a pretty much even score gameplay here. Look at the 2-2 kills, only one objective towards Dirty Lake and the boys. But at the same time, it's just Dirty Lake and the boys just know how to control the game and know how when to come back from these deficits or keep their lead. So if they're able to shift in either direction, they're still in this, and that is a problem for Rogue because their big problem is closing out the games.
Yeah, and this is something that if you're a Rogue fan, you don't want to see D-Lab do, that we haven't seen them really do thus far. And that's playing with a significant lead over the course of some of these engagements or this game too. If you're able to see Rogue close this one out in a 2-0, you want to see them maybe build on a lead or keep it relatively close, because D-Lab, I think, is the least likely team to drop a lead once they have it.
Oh, of course not. I mean, this is why they were our PCC 7 championships. They didn't drop leads and they came back from deficits. But now, ladies and gentlemen, the second Fangtooth is spawning upon us. Import on the left-hand side. Conte showing face in mid, so they do know where he's at. But look at this rotation from Appy Picker as well.
I'm looking for the subjugate here coming out of Import. They're going to be able to need it to set it up, as EXE is going to get bursted down, utilizing the shield that is only going to be able to absorb a minuscule amount of damage as the Grim gets broken down, recycled, if you will, as the refrigerator with an attitude is down for another 20 seconds. Conte looks to make his impact. It is going to be Toasty playing the space. The crystal is going to be enough to knock him up. With Import and Appy Picker waiting in the wings, this is and should be a disengage.
It's going to be a disengage, but Bondru is definitely still over here, though, leaving Terra to get that T1 on the left-hand or the right-hand side, but the Fangtooth is still on up. Now, with the number is evened out on this left-hand side, they're still going to be able to contest for it.
Yeah, they're going to be able to keep their heads up, as now Appy Picker looks over the crack for a possible corner pick, but with Lakeinator, Toasty, and Import all being so close, this could be a ruinous team fight if they follow it up after, which they will. But an instantaneous engagement onto the Sevarog is going to force the Colossal Blow out of him, as on the top side, Wangle drops it, but then gets dropped from the sky by the Argus, as the Psionic Obliterator does exactly what his name dictates. That's going to be a kill that is going to swing in their favor, but that also will be all out of this engagement.
Rogue able to pick up the Fangtooth, but D-Lab able to pick up 2 kills throughout that entire engagement on the left-hand side. Also able to get a T1 over onto the off lane. This is huge for them. This is a great opportunity. Terra is not going to be able to rotate through, but that stun coming out of Toasty there to stop the Gideon from using the black hole. Wow.
That's exactly what we talked about earlier as well. Is Argus going to be around in those moments where Gideon wants to ult? The answer is going to be yes, and promptly, immediately, Toasty gave him a little bit of a wink, said, hey, man, I'm going to need you to come down from there. Keep 10 toes on the floor, please. And as such, he didn't only fall to the floor, he fell into a death trap with multiple members of D-Lab waiting in the wings. If they keep repeating that and they are able to just remove such a prominent part of Wangel's kit, they may have the winning formula.
I mean, their winning formula's already there. They started out that entire play with the Neft gank, getting him out of the play. But look at Conte looking to try and take out Lakeinator here on this T1.
And he might add, it is going to be an engage not for 1, but 3. There's some hate in this game, but the Gag Grenade does so well at just buying time and forcing this team to lose more HP than they need to. Happy Picker, Toasty onto the back end are going to be able to make a rotation, and with Rogue being oh so very low, this is a negative light. Conte is at 1 HP, but Happy Picker's just going to go over his head looking to get Neft guessing. He is guaranteed, and he is, as he ultimately does, get the pick up kill onto him. We are seeing a 1-2 trade as of this moment going in favor of D-Lab. But D-Lab is not quite done yet, as Slobber's going to be blinking onto the back, and the Terra damage is going to be good, and the Grim has a Grim fate indeed, as Slobber is going to be able to lock up that kill. Black Hole in order to try to get a lockdown on the 2 members, but Colossal Blow will blow him off. That is going to be a stark trade going in favor of D-Lab.
Oh my, the Kid League just skyrocketed all for a kill on Lakeinator on the jungle for a T1. Yes, they got the T1 ejected. Yes, they got the kill, but the momentum, the shift, the kills go back towards the D-Lab. What a fight going on over here to this duo lane.
Man, and now off of that, we are going to see Rogue looking to see what they can get out of response for it, and that is going to be a play for the mini prime. All things considered, though, D-Lab, F6 is so firmly within the driver's seat, it feels, for this game, and Gideon, every single time he has tried to make an impact, Wangel, every single time he sees an opportunity to use his ult for damage or CC, from what we've seen, he's just been neutralized.
Yeah, I mean, there with the Colossus Blow was able to work because he wasn't high enough. He was just too far to the ground, or too close to the ground, may I say. And he just able to get CC'd from there. The Argus wasn't there. And what a play coming out of the Sephiroth. This is the part of the game where we're going to start to see Import on this Sev become a monster. 1 level away from 11. He's going to be able to game change this game.
He's already looked like a raid boss right now. Import can absolutely carry and take over this game. If Rogue does not answer, and I mean answer quickly, this is a time test, because the longer this game goes, the better Sephiroth gets, the better D-Lab gets, and the slimmer your chances of winning appear. As Bondrewd, though, over onto the far solo lane, is going to be looking to push some minions underneath the T2, but Terra's going to be there.
He's actually looking to invade for this 5 camp here. Not a good choice. Looking to get his minions back, his Import, as he's able to secure to get himself to level 11. Almost going to be a bad sight for him, but Bondrewd is having a great game. He's allowed to get that mini prime, allowed to get some wave to be pushed towards those T2s. And if he's able to rotate into these fights into the later stages, third Fangtooth is coming on up. We're going to see him dive that back line. And if he's able to get a kill on Lakeinator, or even get a kill on one of the squishier targets like Argus or Howitzer, that might change the game for Rogue and might get themselves back into a little bit more of a decent position.
And that's just the beginning of what they're going to need to do to be able to climb back into this game, or at least to put themselves back in the prominent position. We saw them within game 1, and we've said it time and time again, the only part of a game that is guaranteed is going to be the early game. And despite seeing Rogue striking first, we saw D-Lab strike harder and faster, arguably, as they picked up that early game objective in combination with a kill to establish some pressure. We may see Conte as well as Penguin looking to do something in response, but instead it's going to be barely a tickle of damage to Import and then a reset.
Left lane is looking kind of a little bit dire here. That wave is being pushed towards D-Lab. They need to control that. They need to also control mid lane, being able to push that up to allow them the little bit of a safety net to control over this Fangtooth pit. But on the same time, though, Terra has backed. Terra is on her way over to Fangtooth. Meanwhile, Bondrewd on the surface is still on the right-hand side. This could be dire for Team Rogue.
Dire indeed. With Bondrewd being so far away, they have the strict numbers advantage on this objective, but they do have a smite present as Import is going to colossal blow him. In order to change that, it is going to be a taking of the Fangtooth as now over the top, and it is going to be a Gideon ult that is going to seize nobody at all, but Bondrewd does seize Import and at least make it some degree of a trade. It's 1-1 right now, but the objective is only swinging in one team's favor. You can see it prominent. It will be Lakeinator now picking up a kill onto the Wangle while Toasty looks to 1v3 before inevitably falling down. It is now going to be Lobber onto the backside, being able to shore up the trade at least a little bit by locking out Sereth and feeding Lakeinator the kill, but Conte is not done yet, and after taking a tower shot, he may be the greed being seen on display is ultimately going to spell the tomb, the words on his grave, but at the end, it's going to be an RGS ace in favor of RGE, the Rogue.
Oh man, Kate with the dive there. I think he just had communications with Neft and Penguin saying, hey, I'm gonna die here, but we're gonna get this double kill to wipe out this team completely, and they're able to accomplish that. Lauber did have some twinkle cells though, able to kind of just dodge almost everything, but in the end, Neft was able to clean it on up. But let's go back to that Fangtooth fight. Gideon getting locked down, Toasty with the Argus, consistently stopping him from being able to get the black hole off. But getting trapped inside that pit was the worst idea ever for D-Lab because Neft and Penguin were there to clean them up.
That being said, though, you kind of take a look at the stats. D-Lab is still up on kills, still up with objectives, and those passives, I mean, they can come up pretty big scaling into the late game. Definitely a sign of like a spark of an ignition to be able to get themselves revving up and ready to run through the rest of this game, but D-Lab is still in a very solid spot here.
They are, but it's slowly dwindling away. They do have that little bit of a late game advantage going into with that Severog, but at the same time, look at Neft. Neft, this is the same thing we saw inside game number 1. He has the lead against Lakeinator. He's allowed to do damage. He's allowed to get himself to keep himself into this game, and that's going to be a problem. So one side of D-Lab, they're going to have to start focusing him down into these team fights. Once they get him out of there, though, they're looking clean.
They are looking very clean if they can get him out and, more importantly, behind. But it's such a difficult thing to do with an F, man. His mechanics, his spacing, and the intent of his team protecting him all accumulates to making him a hard package to be able to pick up. But if anyone's going to be able to do it, it is going to be D-Lab, as both of these teams are going to reset, drop some wards on the prominent objective side of the map around Prime, and likely get a little bit of farm, get some items online before looking for a big game-defining fight.
Aubrey, though, looking to try and get this T1 down, but with Neft answering that, he's going to have to take the retreat. The vision is up, though, looking at this pit. For majority, though, it looks like D-Lab has the better advantage on the view of this pit to be able to understand what's going on. But on the same side, though, Rogue is not letting their vision go through, but they're going to need to start clearing some wards to really get control over that War Prime pit.
Yeah, and if they do get control over it, they are going to have to be able to not only take it, but take it more safer than what they did previously with them getting the previous Fangtooth, but costing and giving everything for it. You can't give up that much advantage back into the other team's palms, as that gold is going to accumulate and usher them quicker and quicker into the later phases of the game. I do think, though, to point out, Conte got a little bit greedy there off of that dive, especially considering Penguin as well as Grim weren't all that low on HP and maybe could have taken a couple shots at the tower first, kind of literally giving a kill over to D-Lab.
I mean, that was just the message he had to send. We know Conte, like you said over and over again, he does not know what an S key is. He's a W key warrior, but he is a smart W key warrior. He understood that there's a possibility of death there, but there's also a possibility of getting 2 more kills to really shut down D-Lab from controlling the waves that they were going to be able to once they took a reset. But now, here comes that control, but look at Penguin out of position.
Tried the bull rush, got the stun, as now he's going to be forced to utilize a very vital piece of utility, and that's going to be the blink to get out of the pit. Import now looking around for wards and possibly the enemy team as they're going to be clearing up and preparing for whatever comes next.
There, though, looking at Bonju, trying to take this fight into Lauber, trying to win this 1v1, but the health bar's not going your way, good sir.
Trying to take the fight into Lauber and losing it hard as Lauber seems to be basically full HP underneath tower. Bonju is basically going to have to just play for time. That's going to be a solo kill in the solo lane.
And look at this conversion, though. Rogue is over by the Orb Prime Pit. Are they looking to take this? I don't think this is a good idea. You're already down one member, but look, Fangtooth is being taken by Drongo and Argus. They have the members over there, but Import and Appy Picker are stopping them from taking the Orb Prime.
Primal Fangtooth is going to go for basically free here, as we do see a very light defense being put up here by Penguin. It is going to be an ult as well as the bull rush to successfully create enough space to live, but only temporarily, as we are going to see the back end is going to result in a kill that swings in favor of Appy Picker. This is such a tough position to be in. Nonetheless,
no!
They do get the kill, and Kate barely misses the portal to try to get out. He is now going to be free pickings. It's hunting season, and it is fully open as ultimately Toasty picks it up.
And that's two members down on the side of Rogue. What a play coming out of Dirty Lake and the boys, being able to split your tactics there. Huge shout out to Lauber, able to pick up Bonjude on the Sarah to allow them to capitalize on the double play. But still, Rogue was able to clean up the Orb Prime. But with this Primordial Blaze, with this heat, this T1 or this inhibitor is looking deadly.
We've seen this story before. You let Brian Blaze get into the hands of D-Lab, they're taking your towers. It's real estate season, and they're looking at rebuild. They're clearing your half of the map as they march their way down the mid and take everything. And honestly, Rogue just can't do anything to try and respond. It has to be a reset, and now a defense coming out of this team and Rogue who has to play from the back foot.
There are only 3 members with the Orb Prime buff, while all 5 members of the D-Lab have that Primordial Blaze. You're going to start to see them march here. They're going to start to put their foot on the pedal. They're not going to let up, because if they do, they're going to give Rogue an opportunity to come back into this game. And we know D-Lab, it does not allow you to get back when they have the lead.
D-Lab, I consider an anchor into the ocean. You start close to the surface, but that weight is heavy. You have the potential to break the surface, get the air, but the longer the game goes, the deeper and darker it gets, and that is where D-Lab is oh so very comfortable. They're going to take you to the darkest corners of your mental and see if you can still win. And that is the question being posed to Rogue.
And Rogue's going to have to answer with something better than just defense, because, like we said, D-Lab is not going to allow that. We see them getting ready to start their march towards this inhibitor, towards the T2s and the core potentially. They're going to have to answer, but they also can't get caught out. Their vision is there, though, on the side of Rogue. You see them highlighting their blue side jungle a little bit on their red side, but they still need to be careful, because at any moment, the blink engage can be there.
The blink engage can be there and be potent, lethal, deadly, if you will. We've talked about within the earlier phases of the game how well this front to back can work, especially when you have the combination of Sevarog and Terra. And now with the damage online coming out of Drongo, Argus, and this Howitzer, especially Appy Picker with that R2000. I mean, the name isn't a joke. It feels almost like it does 2,000 damage. And without any healing in it, any real sustain coming out of this team, that can absolutely take someone out of a fight, as Import is going to make his way into the fight. It is going to be a big subject. The damage following up, it's going to be good, but not good enough to be able to lock down a kill. Lauber, though, playing from the backside easily enough, is going to be able to lock down that tier 2.
I mean, they got the tier 2. That's what they wanted to do. They poked out Penguin, forcing him to back. Now they're going to be looking to take this reset, look towards over the right-hand side of the map, maybe take down that T2, open up the map a little bit more. That Primordial Blaze is slowly dwindling away, and they're going to still need to play for these bigger objectives. There's a little bit more time here where the economy can go back over to the side of the Rogues and trying to get themselves back on even footing throughout all phases of the game. But with that being said, though, D-Lab right now with this lead are looking to keep the pressure on.
So As of now, just taking a moment to look at the map state, we're seeing Rogue with 2 inhibitors and 1 tier 2. There is still a tier 1 up in favor of D-Lab in the mid lane. The objective take has been very poor as far as these towers are concerned. That is gold that is literally just sitting on the map that Rogue just has not been able to capitalize so far in this game. And honestly, F6, I don't know if D-Lab is going to give them the opportunity to.
No, but Rogue is a fighting team. They are competitors. They're going to be able to try and fight them way back into this game. What I do want to see, though, is I do want to see them group up as a 5-man, make these decisions to really go after this. I want to see Bondrewd into these team fights, diving that back line with Conte. I want to see the rest of Penguin being able to peel, being able to initiate onto these frontliners that try to push themselves in, having Neff burst them down as they slowly try to get onto these objectives. And they need to stay together. But with Bondrewd getting picked off, he's always by himself. Most of these engagements are not looking well for Team Rogue.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure on how they can shore them up. Playing back from the engagements, though, this is a fight for history for D-Lab. You can see in the way that they are playing, right? They want to be the first ones to get it back to back, while Rogue wants to do everything within their power to stop that from happening. If D-Lab just continues to do what they've been doing, I do believe that we're going to get taken to a game 3, and they're in no rush to get there, as the subjugate is going to come through on Penguin. It is going to be a blast mine to troll, if nothing else, as it is going to be D-Lab making their presence known in Rogue's red side jungle.
We do see Lauber pushing out of that off lane, trying to keep Cerebrid there. If he's able to get that T2, you look at him now backing away. He has the wave pushed up on that side. It is going to slowly bounce back, but he's trying to keep her there because when he resets, they're going after this Primordial Fangtooth, and Bondrewd's going to have to answer this wave, and they're going to have the numbers advantage on the side of D-Lab.
It may look like they're not even going to wait for the back. It is immediately going to be a surge of 4 members of D-Lab onto the objective. Wow, it is going to be 3 on the counter. Wango a little bit late on the rotation. It doesn't look like this is going to be able to be stopped. This might possibly go over to D-Lab for free. However, they have dropped aggro on it, and Import is actually going to be backing up. A big ult comes out and only is going to be able to hit Import, but he's oh so very tanky, so any damage they have to follow up may not be enough, as he's going to be able to utilize the blink to create space onto the back end. Happy Picker translating some solid damage over, but Lakeinator translating what needs to be heard in order to get the kill onto Wango, onto the backspace. Now it is going to be Bondrewd, but very, very late to the party. The curtains are being closed as we do see a 2-0 trade favoring D-Lab.
I mean, what an engagement there from Import, but look, the fight's not over here. Bondrewd's 1 HP, has to force the blink to get out, but are they saved? No, they're not. Penguin goes down as well. Lauber on the chase, and there goes Bondrewd, and he's gone.
Taken into deep water, the Rogue cannot swim. This is now going to be an easy enough push from Lauber to just apply pressure, while everyone remaining on the D-Lab squad is going to be able to circle around and once again get that primordial blaze. And it makes sense because they have been playing hot from minute 1 into this game. As we said previously, it was the Rogue who struck first, but D-Lab struck back harder, faster, and more consistently, and right now Rogue just has to survive the ground and pound.
You say survive, but I mean, they're about to go over towards the Orb Prime here. They're going to have that fight. Sereth is down for another 30 seconds. They're already down in the numbers advantage. Now, with that Primordial Blaze, there's really no contestation towards this Orb Prime pit unless they can bet the perfect play, get the picks they need. But it's not looking so hot for them because now they've already started and they still are converging on this and Conte on that backside.
Don't think they should be making a play for this. I'm going to be honest, man. You've lost every fight up to this point. Your Gideon is unable to really set you up for success utilizing his own ult. He's either been CC'd out of it or they just kill him in response. And Conte has seen some struggles, and with the engagement coming out of him as well as Penguin on this steal pick, it's only spelled disaster up to this point. I'm going to be real. If you're a Rogue fan at this stint, you're looking for a miracle, a good pick, and maybe a perfect defense in order to prevent this from going to a game 3.
They're going to try. They definitely have the heroes. They definitely have the players to do it. But are they going to be able to do it against Dirty Lake and the boys? The team that we said do not give away leads. They are able to close out games. They play exquisite from the start. And if they are behind, they just don't care. But Import is actually caught out in a bad position. This is not what you want.
Oh man, Import almost in export range back to base, and he is brought there as Neff of all people, is going to be the one to get the kill. However, over onto the backside, it is going to be a forced defense as this right side inhibitor is going to astutely go down, and Lauber finds himself in a 3v1 situation, but looking at Neff's HP, they're stuck in there with him. He is going to be able to get the kill onto Neff. He is going to be looking for the smoke, and Conte is going to be looking for a way out as Lauber is just running him down with damage. The combo does come up big, and the Argus stun is going to be offline, but what will be on is Lauber. He's on fire. They're on the final steps. They are on the core, and they are on the precipice of bringing us to a game 3 as Penguin is going to take some damage off of the backside. Bondrude is going to get bursted down from the right around, and D-Lab is going to all but walk their way into a game 3. Steel comes crashing down, but he is going to be made to look soft in the face of the power of the prestige of your defending champions in D-Lab.
They came out swinging. They thought picking import was the play, but Lauber said, no, I don't care how many members you have. I am the unstoppable Terra. Came there fighting, took out Neff, took out Conte, and after that, they kept falling down one by one. They broke apart Rogue in game number 2. And ladies and gentlemen, we are headed into game number 3. But I do want to highlight Toasty. This man stopped Wangle with the Gideon pretty much every time he tried to do anything. And I think that was the key plate and key part of how D-Lab was able to secure this win today.
I couldn't have said it any better myself, man. It does make sense to butter Toasty up of all people. He played beautifully, able to basically remove Wangle from a lot of the engagements, but also set up his carry and his team as a whole for success. And the result, the thing that matters the most, the result is a game 3, win or go home for both of these teams. We got a game 3 on our hands, but I'm excited to see what the desk has to say about it first.
Thank you very much, Ego and F6. We've got a game 3 coming our way. Dirty Lake and the boys able to take game 2. Pretty decisive factors as well. We're pretty close in this for a short period of time, and then Dirty Lake and the boys just start running away with it. What did we see in this game?
Well, like you said, it was very close. This time, like in terms of CS, we were like much closer between the two teams. We were trading objective, we were trading structures. We see Conte with some very good ganks on the Quang, while the Sevrog like was just scaling. But then when it's come to the late game, well, the side of D-Lab was a little bit stronger when it comes in terms of composition, a better front line, while we were like slightly lacking in like late game tanks for the side of Rogue, and in the end they navigated those fights better. They tried to one-shot the Sevrog multiple times. It didn't work out, and that ended up costing them greatly.
Yeah, I mean, I said this before the game. You know, Rogue did take a risk not drafting that tankier frontline team that they had in that first game. They opted into, you know, that Seraph off lane, which has like an okay matchup against the Terra, but like not a great matchup. And then, you know, it kind of didn't really pay off for him. You know, D-Lab did force a game 3 here, which is, you know, good. But it did kind of feel like that first game for D-Lab was kind of their warm-up, and then they really came out swinging, like Ego said, in the second game, and they're kind of online now. We didn't see the, you know, the little minute mistakes that D-Lab made in that first game in the second game, and it seems like they're playing very, very clean now.
They are playing clean. We have a game 3 on our way. The first game 3 of our main event here in PCC 8. The money match. Winner of this will leave today with some change. Loser's gonna have to pick up an extra shift at their job next weekend. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back in Predecessor family. We've got a game 3 on our hand. 2 real good teams going head to head here. Dirty Lake and the boys into Rogue. Game 1 taken by Rogue. D-Lab swings back. They do not want to give up that championship belt just so easily. We want to take a look really quick. We've got some head-to-head stats up for these 2 great North American West Coast mid laners. Appy Picker versus Wangle. What do we see in these stats? What do they tell you about what's happened in game 1 and game 2 so far?
Well, that's pretty impressive when we see like the difference in KDA. So we can see Wangle being very, very active for his team, securing a lot of kills and a lot of assists, and that also kind of shows through their damage. While on the side of Happy Picker, it seems that we're a little bit more conservative, but are less present, and that show up through the CS. I think that can explain also like from the character. We have seen Wangle playing a lot of like Gideon throughout like this series, while Happy Picker like is more on the Howitzer, and so Gideon is more like impactful getting into this mid-game team fight, while Howitzer in general is more like scaling up and then one-shotting people in the later stage of the match.
Yeah, I think this is kind of a testament, just these numbers here. It's a testament to how these two teams are playing, right? I think, you know, Happy Picker, being that kind of staple mid laner for D-Lab, is more comfortable scaling through the game. You can kind of see that through the CS number, right? Where Wangle is more worried about getting his damage and, you know, kind of propelling his team through that mid game and into that late game with that big damage number at the 29,000. So, you know, I think that the two teams have totally different strategies while they both are focused on objectives. You know, that little minute, you know, difference there of D-Lab wanting to scale and you know the Wangle being that team fight heavy mid laner there is what has brought these two teams you know, to where they are right now.
To where they are right now, indeed, and where they are right now is one game away from qualifying for our finals. I said it again, I'm going to say it all damn day, guys. Making that money, at least $1,000, goes to the second place team. Throughout these first two matches, though, we have seen high prioritization on the newest hero in the Predecessor roster, Terra. The person who has, or the team that has picked that hero has won both Game 1 and Game 2. Do we expect that to continue to be a contested pick and something that will probably win Game 3, Mugi?
Well, Terra on Game 1 was like KDA of 8, on Game 2 a KDA of 11. In each of these games she only died once, which kind of showed that you kill people and you never die. So it's definitely creating like a lot of pressure. So at least I expect those teams coming into this draft with like a solution for it. And since like it's most likely gonna be Rogue being the first pick, first ban, they're gonna have like the option securing the Terra if it goes through like the first ban phase. I also feel like that now they played like 2 games against each other, and so those two teams are very good when it comes to draft, and I kind of expect maybe like some spicy like secret shift to kind of throw off the enemy team off guard, because yeah, they have time to study them, and after those 2 games they should have like a good idea of what is the issue and what is working for them.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of brings up the question: if they take the Terra off, what kind of takes the place? You know, we've seen Argus ban, but we've seen it have a lot of impact on it in the second game. We did see a Zarus in that first game. It was taken off the table. Do we see Zarus come back into this third game? We know that champion has a big impact into you know, a lot of these team fights. So what ban do we think is going to be replaced there? I'm not sure. You know, we did see some gadget priority. We didn't see a gadget ban last time, but maybe gadget comes back in. We know that Wangle loves gadget mid lane, and we did see it being played in the off lane yesterday as well with some success. So, you know, maybe we see a gadget spice. You know, we'll see.
I would just love to see a gadget off lane. Our wonderful color caster Tang gave me some of the tech for how to play gadget offlane and what it is good to and what it's not good to. I am 1-0 in ranked on gadget offlane. I must do a little humble brag about this, but I also want to focus in onto import for a second here. Through these first 2 games, he's played heroes that were not typically seen in that jungle role, or at least not in a high priority in the meta. We see him on the Kalari Game 1. Surprisingly, with Alabra on your team, you put him on the Sevarog Game 2. They are able to take that W in Game 2. Do we expect him to go back to more of the traditional meta type junglers, or might we see something spicy from import in Game 3 too?
Well, I think it kind of depends on where the draft are going to lead them. Like, that's one of the advantage of having like a player like Import that can play everything. Then you're not constrained in the draft section. And I feel like here, if for instance maybe we see the Terra being banned and we leave like Aura and Zarus open, that's probably like 2 picks that Import would love to have for himself, but they need to be open. And so I think it really like depends. It's just like the hero pool is a little bit like large when it comes to like Zarus, Aura, Sevarog, Kalari. but I still don't expect we're gonna go like even further into the likes of Feng Mao, Grog, Skamer, and Rampage. I see those are still gonna be out. Those teams don't want to risk anything with like a role as important as the jungle.
I
I
agree
think
with you, Moogie. There's only one way to find out if he's going to go traditional or if he's going to go, sorry to cut you off, Meds, the draft is ready. I can't wait to get into Game 3. We're going to pull it up, but I'll kick it to you first, Meds. Does Terra just get picked up by Rogue here? Will D-Lab ban it?
I think actually, it's been quick. They take the Terra off the board here. I'm interested to see when D-Lab respond here. I would Theorycraft some like Zarus, Aurora pickup here. We know that Zarus is a huge pickup in the jungle, and Aurora can be flexed into that off lane. And it's a huge takeaway from Rogue, and it kind of forces Conte onto that Quang again, which they did find some success against. So I think interesting that they're going to pick up or take away the gadget. No spice there, but interested to see what they're going to pick up first here.
I would imagine that is
though.
to prioritize a Gideon pick potentially for D-Lab there, put it onto the Appy picker, but we're still going to have to see how this ends up playing out.
Yeah, and I love like the idea of the Terra first ban, because like if you don't ban it, then suddenly D-Lab can like not ban a single like Terra, Aurora, or Zarus, and they're gonna end up with 2 on their side. And we have seen like what happened when that happened like in the first game by Rogue. So I love this Terra ban, and here D-Lab decided to not respawn by the ban of Aura or Zarus, because that way they can get the other one. And interestingly, like in that situation, all the teams have first pick Zarus, but we have seen how Conte was strong on this Aura pick, and so that's what Rogue has decided to open. And so this time we do have the Zarus being secured for Dirty Lake and the boys, and they still have their second pick open. We've seen that they have contention around the Grim.exe, but they're gonna secure the Drongo actually this time, because also like, yeah, Terra win the first 2 games, but Drongo also win the first 2 games, so maybe the secret lies there.
Yeah, I'd like D-Lab to actually round out this first round with their support pick. I think that Toasty on that Argus, I don't think that's going to survive the second ban phase. I really do feel like he had a lot of impact on that on that second game. But we do see the Gideon being picked up here, kind of going back to what's tried and true for Wangle here. I was maybe hoping that he would switch it up, maybe show us his Iggy. I know was very good on Iggy. He said, I'm never playing Iggy again, but he did show in the group stages that he is a very good Iggy player. So, I'm a little bit depressed that he just is on Gideon duty this time.
It's Neff's decision whether or not Wangle's on Iggy duty or not. He knows that he is submissive to what Neff wants him to do. Neff's the mastermind behind all of this. I love seeing the Richter picked up for Penguin. Had a really good day yesterday on it. Had some good games on Steel. Did miss a shield slam or 2 in a pivotal moment. Probably not going to miss these hooks. Hopefully Penguin can do some good stuff on the Richter pick this game.
That's exactly what I was talking about when it comes to like adding a little bit of spice into that big game stream. We see that Richter has been banned 2 times, so here we decided to pick it at the 3rd pick before bans happier. And I think here on the side of D-Lab, we kind of have like a tough question. Like I was either like you, Mr. Mate, do we pick the Argus or do we pick the Sevrog? Because we're not going to have both of them. But with the Terra already out of the equation and already being picked like Sevrog, and here with like it's probably going to be on Lover because the Zarus is pretty good in the jungle and there is not really like any predator for the Sevrog left on the side of Rogue. So I really like that now we're switching things up to try to prioritize a little bit more. Here on the side of Rogue, I do expect a ban focusing probably on the support role, while on the side of D-Lab, we actually gonna remove the Crunch, a character that we haven't seen so far. So I don't know if they have like some special secret. Maybe it's to stop Bondru to be able to play that into the Sevrog, and once again reinforcing the fact that Lauber wants that Sevrog in offlane with a positive matchup. Or maybe it's just like kind of a wasted ban in a sense because we want to leave things open.
Now I do want to throw this out there, and this might be wild to say, but could it ever be Zarus support and then flexing the Sevrog into off and in the jungle, right? We have seen Toasty play the Zarus support before, and that would kind of be something spicy. And taking away that crunch kind of reminds me of what maybe they want to pick Kalari again, and Crunch is kind of really good into Kalari, right? And maybe that's Rogue's answer. So who knows? I think that it's probably not what we're gonna see, but it's definitely an option.
Third game in a row, we get the Howitzer into the Gideon in the mid lane. Definitely a comfort for both of these mid laners, as both of them, as I said, have played it every single game. We also did get that Argus ban, so much like we expected, you can't get the Sevarog and the Argus. Kira's going to come through too.
Yeah, and so that means that on the dual lane, we kind of accept that we're going to have like no pushing power because it's likely going to be the Richter Kira lane. But in terms of scaling, it's like pretty strong, and Kira can be a killer to a Sevarog in the later stage of the game, which is like very, very good. And I have to admit, like Happy Picker not being scared against the Richter and still go for the Howitzer, like his team is gonna have to have a lot to do. Like the Sevarog probably needs to go on top of that Richter, like keeping him distracted, because a single hook, that's Howitzer gone. And when you go with a composition with a Sevarog, a Zarus, and one of your damage dealer like explode immediately at the beginning of a team fight because of a nice hook, suddenly everything is much more complicated to play. We're gonna round up the draft with the Quang. I guess it's like to be able to play onto the offlane for Bondro to face into the Sevarog. Like that's gonna be two people farming pretty nicely into each other.
Yeah, and to finish out the D-Lab side, we do see the Decker come in. One thing that I do want to highlight, though, is there's a lot of, big AoE ultimates coming out from Rogue here that kind of will go into that Zarus cage, right? Normally we like to see Zarus being paired with a lot of these AoE because the enemy team can't escape it. But Rogue kind of has said, well, if you're going to put us in a cage, we're just going to, fill it with damage, right? So maybe let's see if D-Lab can survive that damage when Rogue kind of hit that R button. But we'll see in this next game.
There's only one thing better than one cage. It's two cages. They got the Decker. They've got the Zarus. A good front-to-back type of team fight style here out of D-Lab. Mugi, how do you think Rogue can answer this with the combo that they've worked up?
Well, I feel like Rogue has a pretty strong early mid game with a lot of aggressive rotations thanks to the Gideon, Conte on the Aura, Quang also being able to lock down people. Suddenly the Richter also Orthros into Replash, suddenly someone dies, so I feel like they have that settled for themselves. But in the late game they have to be extra careful because most of their damage is going to come from Kira. So it's kind of like a Neft bust, or if Nefts manage to dominate, then suddenly they have a good game, but if Neft gets picked up in those team fights, D-Lab is gonna end up winning that game.
Yeah, we'll see. My eyes on the early game are on Conte. He's been rinse repeat ganking mid lane every game so far, and he's done it probably 4 or 5 times. And like the casters have said, where's the vision there? We'll see if we get some vision there in this game, but we'll see if Conte can be able to get Wangle in that winning position and get him snowballing early.
This is it. The chips are pushed to the middle of the table. All 10 picks are in for the final draft of the first semifinals for Prime Championship Circuit 8. The only thing left is to get down onto the map. Casters, take it away.
Gamers, you know what time it is. It's E squared, but more importantly, it is game 3. And if you're a PCC fan, you are in luck because the pressure is on. Win or go home, and diamonds are only formed under this very pressure. And it's time for you all to see who shines. F6, are you ready for this?
I am ready, Eagle. Game number 3, the first of these final series, and it's going to be Penguin on the Richter, Conte on the Aurora, and Bondrewd on the Quang. This Rogue team is looking to finish D-Lab here, but D-Lab has something else to say about it with this Sevarog.
They had something to say last game, and they're not quite done with their monologue. They are looking to speak history into existence. They want the back-to-back. They want that final spot. But before they can, they're going to have to apprehend the Outlaws in Rogue. And Rogue is going to have to steal away this championship spot. Both of these drafts, you can see some comfort picks. Appy on the Howitzer. The Sevarog once again making an appearance. But I'm going to spotlight Penguin, the Waddler, as Lance calls him, on this Richter. How are you feeling about this draft, man?
I mean, this Richter we saw yesterday be an absolute force to be reckoned with, but at the same time, is he going to be able to do it again? I mean, it's an absolute unit when you're able to be played with it. We do see a terror picture, but it is actually Richter in his other form. She is picked up a lot, about a 40% pick rate, but her win percentage over 50% is absolutely insane. When this man is on the playing field, he's an animal, and if he's allowed to get a win today, it's going to be because of that Richter going insane.
The Riplash is basically an insta-pop, right? I'm talking proactive acne. You are going to get eviscerated and erased if you get hit with that Riplash into some timely damage coming out of the team, as we are going to see a little bit of a clash here within the solo. Lobber already getting very aggressive. It's going to bring Bondrewd below that 50% threshold and utilize that level advantage to be able to safely farm.
At level 2, once it hits, that's what primarily the thing you're fighting for when you're in these laning phases. Once you get the level 2, you're just able to trade a little bit better into your opponent. But we know Lobber is comfortable. I play Sevarog. I don't do this much damage in my level 2. I don't know how he does it, but he does it every single time. And he is going to be somebody to be looked out for in this mid to late game. When he starts to rotate into these fights, when he starts to be a problem, when he starts to be the Swedish warrior, it's going to be a problem for the Rogue.
He does it just acutely and so consistently, right? 10 damage is the most, but 10 damage is a lot when you get hit with the 12 times in a row and you're demonstrating 15 into it. And this is exactly what he is capable of. He is just so comfortable on what this character is capable of. And in response to it, he is going to be able to make some plays others won't. As Conte with the mid lane is going to catch the howitzer into the Frost Happy Picker, it's going to be a little bit low here and forced to utilize the blink. And that's exactly what the Dustcat said, as we now say Bondrewd with Impor behind him, making a blink for a blink appearance, putting on the dancing shoes, but not dancing away from Impor, who is going to export him its first blood of game 3.
That is the import Zarus. We were talking about the deaths, kind of pushed themselves towards it a little bit, talked about it, and that is what we're seeing. But look at Penguin, his health bar is low. They're looking for a second one here.
Oh, they might find it as Lincolnator is going to be able to utilize the blink to close the distance and close the story on Penguin's life, at least for now. That's going to be 2-0 in favor of D-Lab.
Bringing the heat, and they're cooking in the kitchen. D-Lab are looking for that crown. They said game 1 was an oopsies. We were warming up. We were getting ready for what is going to be unfolded today, and they are broadcasting it here and showing it for us on game number 3.
In response to this Aurora draft, getting it into the hands of Conte, it only makes sense that they would turn up the temperature. And that is exactly what they have been executing on so far within this game. We're going to give a rotation early, pick up a kill. We're going to apply the pressure in dual lane and just win against you. But Conte may have something to say about it, as another well-timed wall is more than likely going to put Rogue on the board as Wangle strikes against Happy Picker.
He's done this time and time again. The wall blocking off, it also blocks the blink, so he can't get anywhere. But this man, Conte, cannot be stopped. If anything is going to keep Rogue alive, it's going to be him.
Conte has to cook this game. He has to continuously apply this pressure, not only on the mid lane, onto the duo as they are at a rocky start, and then translate that into some good team fights, either picks or engages whenever they play around Fangtooth, whenever they play around Prime. There is no room for error at this point in the game, F6. Both of these teams realize that, and I'm expecting to say some very aggressive, but also cautious and meticulous play coming out of these teams.
They can't let go, right? This is game number 3. Ladies and gents, this is game number 3. Whoever wins this moves on. Whoever loses this goes home. So they're going to have to be playing smart, but they also got to be playing aggressive just like now.
Oh man, dude, absolutely melted is going to be the Richter. However, it is going to be Conte maybe looking to get it back and let a little bit of poke damage. Isn't going to be enough, though, to bring Import to the threshold. But Neft with the blink will be. Don't blink, because as soon as your eyes are closed, another member is going to be gone. It is high-packed action here within the beginning of Game 3.
6 minutes in, but look at this again. Lauber chasing for this. Shield's going to go away any second now. One more subjugate, one more click, and there it is. That's going to be another kill. Swedish Warrior Lauber with the solo bolo.
It feels like both of these teams, both of these fighters more or less have decided to step to the middle of the ring, and they are not moving their feet. They are planted and they are swinging at each other. And D-Lab's hits have made the most impact as they have a 2-piece kill lead, and we're not even 10 minutes into this game.
Not even, man. We're about to hit that 7-minute mark. The Ore Prime, the mini Ore Prime is going to spawn. Fangtooth is up, and then this is where we switch into from that laning phase a little bit over towards the team phase. Now we're going to start to see a little bit more of grouping. Now we're going to start to see a little bit more action, I would say, but we've already seen it. But these two teams are trying to make a statement here today.
I didn't know that we had Michael Bay right in the script for the PCC. It's nothing but action over here. And now, though, it looks like Conte may be looking for the next fight scene. It is going to be Blink and the Bifrost. However, a good Decker Cage off the backside is going to be able to lock down the space, but with the wall and the hook combination, Lakeinator is all but consigned to death now. The question is, who gets it? And your answer is going to be Neff.
Conte, another kill to just get closer towards D-Lab. The way this man is playing right now, he is not going to lose. He's not letting D-Lab run away with the lead.
This feels like a story of two junglers just combating, going head to head, looking to grab, to snatch the momentum away from the other. It is not an exaggeration to say Import is possibly the most important person on the side right now for D-Lab. All over on the side of Rogue, Conte, there has to be nothing he can't do. Both of these teams are looking and finding weaknesses, chinks in the other's armor, and we haven't hit the 10-minute mark, but Import is going to be hitting the Fangtooth.
Tosi able to push in the wave on the left-hand side. Appy Picker being able to get a little bit of an advantage in the mid lane is going to allow for them to rotate over to this Fangtooth, and this should be the first neutral objective once again over towards the side of D-Lab.
And this is something that if you're a Rogue fan, you don't want to see, as D-Lab, when they get comfortable with getting those objectives, can kind of get a closeout. It's not only something we've seen within Swiss, but within the top 8 as well. Just last game, D-Lab being able to lock down that first objective just innately gave them a lot of pressure. Granted, it was coupled with a kill within the lane, and Appy within that very same lane that has already been ganked multiple times. It's going to be a use of the blink in order to try and get away and try and succeed. He will, as Conte is just hunting the middle.
He's just being caught out of position one time after another. He needs to be aware that Conte does not want you to be in this lane. He's going to be already picking you off once. You need to be aware of that. He needs to understand he needs to get a little bit more vision up and needs his team to help him out there, because right now Conte is out for blood.
I couldn't put it any better than what the desk had earlier. Dr. Med saying, hey, where are the wards? The question remains, but the question mark has gotten even bigger. If they are trying to gank you and it's not working, then sure, maybe you just kind of play it by the ear, play it a little bit safer. However, it's worked basically every time, and now they are going to be working on this mini prime, and it doesn't look like it is going to be contested, as Conte is on the complete other side of the map. This is going to be 2-0 objectively. That's going to swing in favor of D-Lab.
10 minutes in, Lauberg is going to be able to pick up this mini prime. We saw the work that he's doing over in the offlane against his Quang. Not only that, Import, we're seeing a different mentality here. He's off to a hot start. He's got a kill. He's got 2. He's also got these neutral objectives under control. And D-Lab right now are trying not to hold up. They're trying not to give Rogue any space, but Conte is always there to say something different.
He's just always there looking for it. And now in the duel lane, we are once again going to see the combination of this Gag Grenade as well as the Decker Cage secure another kill so easily. And all of this has spawned off the backside of that missed Riplash. I don't know if it's the game 3 jitters, but Penguin has not been hitting these as consistently as he has in the past. And as a result, all of the aggression has been coming out of D-Lab, and it's been going well for him.
I mean, that's what we were talking about in the early stages. I said he has to play the same exact ways he did last time. Lauber missing the colossal blow there on Bondrune. does have the wave in his favor, should be able to push this on the tower. But like you said, Decker, though, is a true counter towards the Richter, but Conte's a true counter towards this D-Lab as he looks to initiate again.
He looks, but decides to go for disengage as the ice wall will not be long enough to seal off the exit space for Toasty and Lakenator. We're going to be able to now reset with Import winning the wings near their jungle side red buff for a possible team fight. They have the lead. Now, all D-Lab has to do is not drop it, and that's something we haven't really seen them do before.
No, not at all. But if there is a team, if there are players out there that can cause that to happen, it is going to be this Team Rogue with Conte playing the way he is. Neft, the absolute best ADC in this game right now. Penguin, if he's just able to shore up one or two more hooks, that's all they need. He doesn't need to hit all of them, right? We know he's not been on top of it so far in this early game. But if this mid to late game, he starts to connect, it's going to be different.
Dude, we also can see over here into the solo lane, that prime buff on to the Sevarog is just basically omnipotent. He's everywhere and nowhere, much like that HP bar if he looks for an engage on you. This Sev is going to be able to lock down this tier 1 relatively easily, and then that is going to be able to free him up to make a couple rotations, whether it's mini prime, another Fangtooth, or to the mid lane to get Conte back for the pressure they've been applying on their own mid.
Great, exceptional play going in there from Lauber. We saw how he's able to just keep winning. He's already got the T1 down on the off lane. Now that opens up the map for him to rotate more and more, able to push that wave up to the tier 2, and allows for a significant amount of time for him to be impactful into these team fights.
Speaking of impact, that is going to be the colossal blow that does get utilized to get Kwang off of the Sevarog. Playing the space relatively close to lane here is going to be Import. Maybe looking to see if Wango overextends just a bit, but he will not now, taking the long way over to the river camp, which he will find absent. It is going to be Neft, Penguin, and the rest of Rogue looking to just take their time and allow themselves to scale.
They can do that all they want, but Lauber, he used that colossal blow to get into Kwang away from the wave to allow him to get a little bit more time to back, as you can see him now working his way towards the second Fangtooth. All the members are going to be here. Kwang is still inside the off lane, and now this is the time for a second neutral objective for the Fangtooth to be accomplished.
The pressure is all on Rogue. They have to make some type of play around this. They cannot continue to just keep giving up free value, free advantage. That is now a 3-0 on objectives. That's a mini prime as well as two Fangtooths. They're going to be able to swing in their way, and they're also behind on kills. The reins at this point are firmly within the hands of D-Lab.
They're grasping it. They, like you said, the neutral objectives are in their favor. They got the mini orb prime. We saw them use that very well. They gave it to Lauber, who was able to push down on T1. Now they got the second Fangtooth playing towards that third Fangtooth angle, and we know how dangerous that third Fangtooth is to the mid to late game. If you're able to accomplish that, there's a little bit more damage you're allowed to do in these team fights, a little bit more protections you have for your players, and it allows you to win those skirmishes that are going to be close to be able to get yourself into a bigger lead.
And that's the thing, is if you keep the skirmishes close for Rogue, at least you have the potential of getting some value, maybe knocking a couple bounties off and being able to get a kill, then make a rotation of your own onto an objective. But if they are kept close and T-Lab wins them, well, this game is no longer going to overall be close. This will be a closeout of Game 3 that could swing in favor of the defending champions in D-Lab. But I don't believe that Neft is going to let that happen. I don't believe Conte is going to let that happen. We have a team full of fighters here, and if they are willing to do anything, fighting is going to be one, as the Riplash just deployed putt being offline. Lakenator is going to be able to reset his positioning behind the tier 1.
Like they're playing a little bit safe to allow him to be able to be fine over there inside the dual lane. Potential gank. They knew Conte is playing aggressive inside of this game, so they were aware of that. Great escape, but the Riplash just a little bit outside that distance, because Penguin was definitely on target.
Yeah, man, and now with Penguin being on target with these, he just has to be able to close that distance, right? It's a series of things, as we are now going to see Wangle getting victimized by the ulti coming out of house, or looking for a corner to be able to hide behind. He will be able to get out just sob below that 50% HP mark, but Toasty on the rotation is going to have something to say about it as he gets comboed and annihilated. Mama, it's a magic trick. Where did the mid laner go?
He went back to his fountain to think about his decisions. Contesting that again is absolutely criminal. Man, the wave was not in your favor there, but good rotation from Toasty. Something that he is known for on this decker. He makes those rotations. He makes the impact across the map, and you saw it there firsthand.
It's something we talked about within game 1, game 2, game 3. Toasty, dude, the 1-2 butter up, making these rotations from his dual lane onto the mid, if not just to pressure the river count, to pressure the laners. And now look at the value that is being derived once again out of a pick. D-Lab making a play from Mini Prime. These guys have just been victimizing every objective the moment it has come up, and it doesn't feel like as of now there's much Rogue can really do about it.
Man, Appy Picker there stole the mini ore prime from Sephiroth. A little bit of communication issues probably, but nonetheless, the mini ore prime has been secured by D-Lab. This is how you play Predecessor. This is how you defeat the top tier teams, and D-Lab right now are playing this game to perfection.
They're just not making any mistakes, man, and they are punishing Rogue so hard for every single mistake they have made so far within this game. You know, overextend, we're going to kill you off of it. You don't want to have wars. You don't want to have vision on these Fang 2s. We're going to get them back to back like a diss track, man. I'm talking about 6-16. It has been absolutely vile throughout this game. How perfectly, I should say, D-Lab has been playing, and you can see that anchor metaphor from previous is starting to become more and more apparent. It gets darker, it gets harder, and as the game goes on, D-Lab seems to only get stronger. Rogue needs to do something, and they need to do it now.
We do see that building into that tainted guard to allow Penguin to at least reflect some of that damage that he's getting targeted towards him, that Rayman. But the Fist of Rizul on top of Bone Drew there with that Magnify should allow him to start diving into these backlines. Looking at the team comp of Rogue, they are trying to dive that backline, cause some commotion so the rest of their backline could do damage, but they're not able to succeed just yet. We haven't seen that full 5v5, 4v4 team fights just there.
Ooh. Oh man, and the Riplash does find purchase, but instantaneously it's going to be the ulti coming out of Lake in order to maintain the space on the pullback. An excellent heads-up mechanical play coming out of the carry for D-Lab.
That's just great peel. Penguin maybe starting to get online here. We're seeing those hooks start to slowly connect, but the third Fangtooth is up and online. We do see the Sevrog and the Quang on the opposite side, so this looks like a 4v4 potential fight. They cannot let this go on Team Rogue. They cannot give the third Fangtooth, but they do.
Oh no, this is the worst thing for them. 3 Fang2s down, absolutely nothing on the board. It is going to be a big dragon coming off of the dash, coming off the crest of the Richter, and the setup off the top end is going to be Wangle with the ult, but is it going to be enough? As we see, Neff starts to hit the spin to win. It's not going to be for Lakeinator. Is going to be able to get the kill once again onto Penguin. It is going to be a rallying though, as Conte does lock down the enemy jungle in, and exporting him back to his Fallon. Bondrew is going to find himself in a 1v1 with the Reaper, with the God of Death, with the Sevarog, as we oversee a 3-to-1 trade that does for the time being go in favor of Rogue, which will surely be increased to 4 here as Wangle does get the kill onto Appy.
Oh man, they get the third Fangtooth, but now the kills are tied up. Neff just got a huge cleanup inside that Fangtooth pit, and that is not what you want on the side of D-Lab. Nats is going to start to be impactful here now in these fights. You're seeing how much damage he's able to do, and it's going to keep getting worse. So they're going to have to be a little bit scared here when it comes to the side of watching out, because if he's left unattended in his team fights, he's going to be able to change these. Great Rift Walkers there by Penguin to get everybody is close enough inside of the black hole to be able to cause the amount of damage there. So maybe there's a little bit of a resurgence from that team fight for Team Rogue to keep themselves into this game.
I can agree with you more, man. We could see there within that last engagement, D-Lab was thirsty for that third Fangtooth. So in response, Rogue decided to send them back to Fallon, and only felt natural within that case. But being 3 Fangtooths down and a couple mini primes as well is not an overall great look on the objective board. I'm going to need to see this squad get a lockdown on these objectives, as Lauber is going to have a lockdown onto Bondrewd with the subjugate. The kill pressure is going to be on, and we may need to see a blink out of the Quang as Sevarog utilizes his in to the Colossal Blow to feed import another kill.
He cannot be stopped. Give him Terra, give him Sev. Either way, he's hunting you down, and there's no way to go as we see another expansional fight going there towards the side of D-Lab.
It felt like Kwang just thought he was safe for way too long. They're giving himself a little bit more shield in order to hopefully sustain and outrun the Sev, but the utilization of the blink into the colossal blow sent a clear message. Hey man, I want you dead, so you're gonna be dead. That's gonna be another elimination that claims now the kill lead in favor of D-Lab.
Rogue. There is still hope in this game, ladies and gentlemen. If you're a Rogue, a fan, they still have that time. It is past that 20-minute marker. We're looking in towards the Primordial Fangtooth. We're looking towards the Big Orb Prime. And at any moment, these plays can be made. But look at Import chasing Wangle.
Oh my god, life saved by the Aurora Wall. A solid knockback coming out, yes, but Import had the bloodlust on. He could smell the blood in the water in response. It had to be an absolute shutdown of the engagement coming from the Aurora. The wall was the only option. I would not want to be taking any fights with this Zars. As you can look anywhere on the map right now with 6, and everywhere you can see the pressure that's being exhumed as, once again, it is going to be Bonjo getting locked down. Take your hands off the keyboard, brother.
No.
You are CC'd because the other team is sick as they now get a lockdown kill. Lakeinator collecting the gold.
D-Lab is confident. D-Lab is on point. There's nothing that I think you can do right now to break this mental of D-Lab, because the way they're playing, they do not care. They know they're going to come out on top with this win, with the way how they're playing, because they are confident in everything that they do. The rotations, always with 3 to 4 men, just rotate on a single target towards looking towards these bigger objectives. And now with that, they have control over the orb pit.
It really does make sense that the champions of the previous PCC, the kings of this amazing event, will be looking to send the thieves to the guillotine. That is exactly what they have done throughout the entirety of this game. It's been a strict execution on any engagement, whether they want it or not, and they are just not letting go of the lead that they have developed. I am talking in white-knuckled. They are gripping and looking to ride this momentum all the way to a championship spot.
And if I'm a D-Lab fan right now, I'm looking to keep cheering these guys on. They weren't able to really get anything out of that play last time, but nonetheless, though, they were able to get a kill. But look at this now. The Primordial Fangtooth is going to be set up, ready to be in play. The Orb Prime as well. The wards, the vision are controlled on D-Lab's side over towards the Orb Prime pit, but they don't really have too much on the Primordial Fangtooth. We saw them able to trade that in game number 1, and it turned out into the favor of D-Lab for a slight moment. So we'll see which objective they choose.
I have to ask you, man, I have to get in your head because I have a couple ideas, but I haven't quite formulated them yet. Right now, obviously, Rogue playing from behind, able to shore up the kills for a brief instance before D-Lab once again claimed that lead as well to go right up on the shelf next to the objective one. They very, very clearly have. What player needs to show up? What player needs to be the one to make the difference here for Rogue to put them back in this game?
It's going to have to be Neft. He's one of the biggest counter towards that Sevarog. He's going to need to be able to burst him down because right now Lauber is just uncontested. There's not enough damage to kind of let him know, like, hey, I shouldn't probably be doing this. So they need to have Neft into these fights when they're trying to contest with Lauber there. But we also need to see Kwang kind of diving that back line, kind of pushing, kind of creating a little bit more threat towards D-Lab.
Yeah, and we can see right now, Lauber, very aware of what Neft is capable of, is going to look to aggress upon him, but only briefly. Seeing he does get the space creation he requires, and the damage translation would have strictly gone within Neft's favor. Lauber looks and finds that disengage and does an excellent job at just keeping Neft occupied out of some of these team fights, as there's a lot of wards on the map. And I can guarantee the moment someone inches towards an objective, we may be looking at a 5v5.
And that's the point of the vision control, right? To be able to make that quick decision based off what you see throughout the map, not only the wards, but these waves being manipulated to be pushed on either end of the side of the map to help these teams know what's going on. And if at any moment, like you said, they see the opportunity to converge, to make a play, they're going to make it.
And as we do now see, Penguin once again is going to get caught out, utilizing that mobility, utilizing the skewer, but it is all for nothing as Penguin is going to fall victim, get sent back to the fountain. We are now going to see a rotation towards the prime.
I mean, look at Neft. He's on the opposite side of the map, but also Rogue is on wards. They know that they're trying to get the sneaky play, and look at this engagement coming from D-Lab.
Oh my God, Conte, the ice cream, the Aurora gets absolutely melted. It's a cooked situation, as now we're going to see Import Toasty, Lakenator, Appy Picker, and Lobber. That's the 5-man. That's D-Lab. That's your champions making a play for the Orb Prime.
Without their jungler, there's not much contestion that they can do, and with this Orb Prime, they're going to be moving themselves right over towards the Primordial Fang too. This is not what you want on the side of Rogue. Now they're looking to get themselves into a double buffed up situation. They still have some tier 2s to go through before they contest inhibitors to really open up and expose that core, but nonetheless, this is D-Lab you're talking about, baby. They are going to be taking control completely as they get this double buff.
Oh no, don't do it, Rogue. This is awfully risky. And now off to the back end of the cage, Bon Druid is going to get absolutely melted. We are seeing some shrewd operators coming out of D-Lab. They turn, pick, and resume their business. Not even a vacation day being expended for the take the solo laner of Rogue.
You just didn't want to walk in there. I mean, Guang, you weren't having a great game to start. You weren't allowed to really facilitate, but you head first into there, and it's just a complete disintegration of that player, of that hero onto that gray screen. And now with the 2 buffs going towards D-Lab, they're going to start their siege. They're going to start their march towards that core.
It feels a lot less like a march, man. I'll be honest here. Nothing is over until the big lady sings, and Rogue is very, very capable of a comeback. That being said, though, D-Lab has just been able to walk into every opportunity. Every door has been open, and they are not shy about walking through it. And it feels like they are going to be keeping that same mentality here as we're seeing a grouping start to develop within the mid lane.
Just want to go back to this draft scene. I'm just thinking, I'm like, man, they picked up that Sevarog. Why would you let them have that? It's just impeccable how this man is able to do this. He is the one and only true South player because he does it time and time again. And now you're seeing the impact once more. But look at this content. You need to get out of there. Rogue needs to leave these T2s alone, put on the defense for these inhibitors, and possibly just try and defend this core, because right now D-Lab has everything they need to end this game number 3.
Dude, they just are in buy time mode. You can't realistically take a fight here, as it is once again going to be a Coliseum around Import, and he instantaneously is going to be getting popped. Oh my God, turning up the temperature. It makes sense that Penguin is going to fall due to the climate change, because these guys are bringing a heater to the Rogues. Now able to lock down not 1, but 2 of the inhibitors. It is going to be a corralling, a surrounding of the core, and they are oh so very low, oh so very weak. And some of them look oh so very dead, but they will survive. Staying alive will be 3 members. Now Conte is going to get melted onto the back end. The core 80%, 70%, 50%. It's going to be Appy. It's going to be Lobber. It's going to be Import. It's going to be D-Lab, who's an opportunity in history, as they will be in your championship.
What a play. What a series coming out of Dirty Lake and the boys. Game number 1 was taken away from them from Rogue. It did not look good. It did not look sweet. But there comes game number 2. They locked in. Game number 3, they were able to secure it all. They move on into the next stage, into the finals. Ladies and gentlemen, what a showing coming out of D-Lab.
It was a sitting up of the chair, man. They locked in and locked down the Thieves, the Rogue squad there. They put up a really solid fight, but it just proved not to be enough in the face of this much experience and this much confidence. Towards the end of that game, we saw them playing with the deadliest mentality you can in a MOBA. And you're going to rotate 2 people to us, and you want to contest this objective, and no matter what they did, there was not a solution in sight for Rogue, and you could see there, D-Lab knew it. And because of that, F6, they're going to be fighting for another championship.
I mean, they're going to be fighting for it for sure, because we have two other teams that are fighting for that right to go against the previous champions, and those two teams are nothing to shy away from. They are in our top four for a reason, but Dirty Lake and the boys, with the showing that they just put on for game number 2 and 3, are looking dangerous.
Dude, they are looking lethal, and man, it has been an absolute pleasure to catch here today for you guys. It is your boy Ego with F6. It's the E squared combo signing out for the time being, as we are going to send it back to the desk.
Thank you very much, Ego and F6. And once again, Dirty Lake and the boys find their way to the finals, have that opportunity to be our defending champions. What did we see from them in Game 3?
Well, to be honest, it was a very clean game from them, and a big portion of it, I think, kind of come down to Lobber Severok. Like, of course, the team played super well, but they were going to get control over the Functus area with this Victor Kira combo lane we were talking about, because they're not going to get like any pressure. But on the side of the Rogue, they really needed that Quang to be like active in the team fight later on, to be able to create some space, so the Victor can be like a second initiator, not a main frontliner, because we know a Victor support as a main frontline, well, it just get dove in and get killed time and time again. And with Lobber just like absolutely crushing Bondroid in that third match, getting like 2-level lead, like the whole comp of Rogue kind of fall apart, and suddenly like D-Lab were first on every single objective, they couldn't get contested, and they just like play their game plan, and they just like win a very, very clean win.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I mean, there was, D-Lab is a titan, right? And there was maybe a little bit of a chink in their armor in their first game, but they played to their strategy. They played that front-to-back team fight that that everybody knows that they love to play, and they play very, very well. With that little chink in their armor, they said, let's just put that game aside, let's play our game, and let's come out with the win. And giving Lobber that big Severog, we did see 20 minutes, full stacks. He was online, and from there they were just able to play through that off lane and transition that lead into the jungle, like we did see Bondrew getting picked off twice in his jungle, and then snowballing that lead through the 3 Fangtooths that they did get early, and then into that very early 30-minute win.
Dirty Lake and the boys fans, rise up. Oceanator carries you to another finals. We've got one more semifinal before we get into that final one for the day, but I want to remind all of you watching at home, click that subscribe button, click that follow button, support us. Go over, find our Discord, hit exclamation point bracket in our chat there, get a recap of everything that has happened, get the rosters for the teams, all of the information that you could potentially need. That's going to be it for Mr. Meds for us for the day. Moogie will be back for our second set. Mr. Meds, would you like to say anything before we cut you off?
Well, I'm really happy that I got to be here with you guys on this, finals day. I had a lot of fun. I'm really excited to, watch the next games. It's going to be a banger of a finals. I'm excited. I'm rooting for D-Lab. We'll see if Doctors, the Doctors, if they can, pull out a win in this next match, and if they have a chance against D-Lab. They're looking very, very strong.
Predecessor family, don't go anywhere. We'll be back with our second semifinals of the day between Professors and the Doctors.